And Rick, I'm going to allow people in. Just give everyone a moment to come in.
All right. Tell me when we stabilize, Peter.
Okay, we still have a few. We're looking pretty stable at 23 attendees now.
Okay, well, that sounds about right.
Big meeting, big meeting.
I shall begin. Good evening, all, and welcome to ANC 2E's February public meeting, which of course comes this evening on the last day of January. We have an active agenda tonight, but hopefully we can move through it with substance and alacrity. First item on the agenda is approval of tonight's agenda. It has been distributed to all members of the commission. Everybody's had a chance to look at it. Can I have a motion to approve this evening's agenda? Commissioner Lose, a second. Commissioner Palmer, all in favor? Aye. It is approved. Second item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from our January 6th, 2022 meeting, which have been distributed and reviewed by members of the commission. Do I have any corrections or additions to the minutes? Hearing none, can I have a motion to approve the minutes? This time, Commissioner Palmer, second. Commissioner Miller, all in favor? The minutes are approved. Next item on the agenda, as at all of our meetings, is a public safety and police report. Is it Lieutenant Merzig tonight?
He did tell me he was going to be here. I'm not seeing him in the attendees, though. Lieutenant Merzig, if you're here, if you could raise your hand at the bottom of the screen. I will say, Rick, I know we have that situation, so he may be.
He may be someplace else at the last minute. So we will skip that item on the agenda and come back to it if Lieutenant Merzig has an opportunity to join us. Next administrative matter on the agenda is we have a request You got us back on, Peter. It said the recording stopped. Are we up and running?
My internet crashed for a second. I'm back.
Apparently not. We will as with Lieutenant Merzig, we will circle back to Anna if she gets available later. Here he comes.
There we
back.
go.
Oh, I think Peter's having. Are you having?
I'm officially back now. Sorry, my internet crashed for a second there.
Okay. Okay. Next item is
Commissioner Murphy. Oh, never mind. Go ahead. Sounds like says Anna is not able.
Councilmember Pinto's office will give
Yes,
her.
we understand that because we've had word from Anna. She may come on later.
Brian.
So we got Mr. Romanowski from Commissioner Pinto's office, I believe. Brian, are you on?
I am putting Brian through as a panelist.
Great.
Hi, Brian.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can. Thank you.
All right, perfect. Well, yes, I will give Anna's update as well tonight, if that's okay. So I think Anna mostly had two updates, and she is at the, she's taking care of that incident. But the two updates are one, the coronavirus.dc.gov website now has a new feature for KN95 mask inventory. So, you can get 2 free masks per day, I believe, from the city now. And so if you go to coronavirus.dc.gov/COVID centers, and even if you just go to coronavirus.dc.gov, on the top, you can click COVID centers. And now there's going to be a COVID center in each ward. Most of them have opened already. For Ward 2, our center is at 926 F Street Northwest. I believe it's next to where the 930 Club used to be long ago. Not that long ago, but long ago. And where J. Crew was. And I've been there myself. It's great. So it's supposed to be a one-stop shop for everything COVID. You can get a vaccine there. You can get a PCR test. You can get the rapid antigen tests, 4 per day per resident, so 2 boxes, as long as you bring your ID. So make sure you bring your DC ID or proof of residency. And then I know some folks in your ANC might be closer to the Ward 3 site, and I believe that's the only one that has not opened yet. So we don't know the location. Otherwise, I would tell you that. And you can go to any ward's COVID center. But again, if you're really looking for the masks, you can go on that website. And so right now I'm looking and it says the Ward 2 site has 0 masks remaining at the end of the day today. And so they'll update that daily with how many masks are left. So I can see that there's 60 masks left at the Ward 8 center. So a cool feature that I think they added today. And a second update is about the Bridge Fund. So you may have been familiar with the Bridge Fund in the past, and I don't have all the details in front of me, unfortunately, but again, if you just go to coronavirus.dc.gov/Bridge Fund, it might be under recovery. There's a recovery tab that should give you all the details on how to apply, but I believe the mayor has also been posting about that as well. I'm sorry, I don't have more on that, but again, it's the DC Bridge Fund, and that's for businesses as part of COVID recovery. It's covers a pretty broad range of businesses. But again, sorry, I don't have all the details in front of me. If it's okay, I'll just jump into my regular updates. Does that work?
Please do.
Okay, cool. So Councilmember Pinto was happy to join Commissioner Miller, Georgetown Main Street, and other community members at Peacock Cafe last week for Takeout Tuesday. She also visited the Dumbarton United Methodist Church yesterday to celebrate their 250th anniversary, and will hopefully be passing a ceremonial resolution honoring that occasion tomorrow when the council is holding their next legislative meeting. Tomorrow's meeting will also include votes on a public-private partnership to convert all street lights around DC to LEDs with remote monitoring that will allow the contractor to know when lights are out instead of having to rely on residents submitting 311 requests, so a big upgrade. And also the Department of Insurance, Securities, and Banking Emergency Powers Authority Extension Emergency Act of 2022, which allows the DISB Commissioner to require insurers to fully cover the cost of COVID-19 testing, which will hopefully make testing less costly for individuals and businesses and avoid the risk of discouraging people from getting tested due to cost issues. So those are the two of the big things tomorrow. There's plenty of other things. And you can always view all of that on the council's website, the agenda for tomorrow, and the hearing you can watch live. Councilmember Pinto's Best Act, which she introduced last year, will have its first hearing on Monday the 7th at 1 p.m. I'll post a link with the hearing information in the chat when I'm finished speaking. But as a reminder, this bill aims to simplify and streamline the business licensing process and make it easier and more affordable for small business owners to apply for the licenses that they need. Agency performance oversight hearings are continuing for the rest of the month into the beginning of March. I'll note some major dates. So this Friday is the DMV's oversight hearing. DMHHS is on Monday the 7th. DPW is on Tuesday the 8th. The DC Library, the Board of Elections, and the Office of Campaign Finance and DSLBD are all on Wednesday the 9th. So that's a big day. Followed by the Office of the Attorney General and the Office of Neighborhood Safety and Engagement on the 10th. And then the last one I'll mention is the Department of Employment Services is Monday the 14th, but they do continue after that until about March 10th. So I'll post a link to the entire schedule. If you wish to testify, the options vary based on the committee, but you generally have 3 options. You can submit a written testimony or a recorded testimony, either 24 hours before the hearing or sometimes even after the hearing for a certain amount of days, just depending on which hearing it is. Or you can register to testify live around a week before the hearing date by 5 p.m. Again, that really does vary. Sometimes it's 2 days before, sometimes it's 4 business days before. So please check the instructions at the link that I will provide. All of these oversight hearings help the council as they craft their budget for FY 2023. Thank you to all the commissioners and community members who attended Councilmember Pinto's Ward 2 Community Budget Forum on the 13th. Councilmember Pinto will be sending her letter of Ward 2 budget requests to the mayor, I believe, early next week. And if you have any additional requests or comments related to the budget, please email Ella Hansen in our office. I will post her email in the chat as well. The mayor will be submitting her proposed budget to the council on March 16th, and then the first council vote on the budget will be on May 10th. Okay, the Ward 2 ANC Redistricting Task Force has now met twice and will have their 3rd meeting this Thursday at 6:45 p.m. via Zoom. These meetings are all public, and I will include a link in the chat for anyone interested in attending. The link that I post will also have all the dates of their future meetings. I believe they're meeting weekly until March 31st. So you have plenty of opportunities to join them. And they are all public meetings, but the day of the week tends to vary. I think they tried to vary it to help people's schedules. Finally, I've been working closely with Anna and DPW to address outstanding leaf and holiday tree collections. If you know of a location that still needs attention, please contact me or Anna. I know there are at least a few in Burleith for leaves, and I see Christmas trees everywhere. So please feel free to send addresses to either of us. And I think that is all for me. I'm going to post a lot of links in the chat, and I'm sorry for talking for a while.
That's okay. Thank you, Brian. Commissioner Lois, do you have a question?
Brian, I just want to thank you for helping set up the meeting with Kesher for you and Councilmember Pinto to come to that meeting. So thank you.
Commissioner Palmer?
Hi, Brian. Thank you for your update. I was interested in hearing about the transition to LED lights across the city. Commissioner Murphy and I sat on the commission a few years ago when there was conversation about changing the lights in the residential area of Georgetown to LED. And there was a long, vibrant conversation about whether or not LED lights were appropriate within the historic district. And I'm wondering if this announcement considers where those two play with each other.
I know that they're supposed to be able to dim the lights, which they're not currently able to do. So that is an interesting upgrade. So hopefully, even if it starts off, if people say it's too bright, then they'll be able to just dim it without having to change the bulbs or the type of light. And I know that has been an issue in many residential neighborhoods. I can try to post in the chat more specifics of the bill or of the, I guess it's a contract that they're voting on tomorrow.
Do you know that if the light posts will need to change in the historic district to accommodate the new lights?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, this is, as Commissioner Palmer has noted, this was a very active issue now, 4 years ago at least, and we were left with things unresolved, and we haven't heard anything since, and now all of a sudden it's happening. So I hope the issues that were raised when this first came up have been addressed. but I can understand that there's no way you would know, Brian. So we're just going to have to try and follow up.
Yeah, I could tell you some things about Kelvin's, but I don't necessarily understand it, so I don't want to
Well,
speak.
and nor would I, frankly, but people who did understand were very much engaged on this issue quite some time ago. And then, like so many things, it just disappeared and we didn't hear anything more. So I am a little startled that all of a sudden it's here without any further communication. But it's not the first time we've had experience with that agency. By the way, do you have on your list the date for the DDOT oversight hearing?
I'm sure it's on the link that I sent, but I didn't have it.
Okay, well, we can look at the link. I'm just driving home the point that that's one oversight hearing I might want to testify on.
Mhm.
Brian, do you know where, could you help us just get a little bit more smart on what's happening related to the lights? Offline is fine.
Oh, sure. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we would appreciate that. Okay, any other questions for Brian? Commissioner Puda.
Hi. Thanks, Chair Murphy. Hi, Brian. You mentioned the budget town hall, and that was great that you held that again. And I was glad to be there, and with Elizabeth as well. If you were, I don't know if you'll recall, I was there representing the Hardy Parent Teacher Organization. Hardy is in my district, and they feel like they really need a renovation and a budget request for a renovation. It's on our agenda tonight. I don't know if you'll be staying on, but if you can stay on, that would be great, because you were saying, I think next week she'll be, your Councilmember Pinto will be submitting her requests. So we'll be voting on a resolution tonight, and I hope that you can stay on, or at the very least make sure that it's flagged for her for that for her consideration. Okay.
Yep, I can stay on.
Thanks so much.
And thank you for coming and testifying.
No, anytime. Thank you, man.
Okay, Commissioner Miller, do you have a question for Ms. Romanowski?
Hi, Brian. Just quickly, literally one sentence answer. What are Councilmember Pinto's priorities for 2022? Maybe just the top two.
For the fiscal year, you mean?
I kind of just mean, what are her priorities? What is she working on? What are the things that she's passionate about and doing in Ward 2? Doesn't need to be specific budget or anything, just.
Sure. Well, I think public safety is number one for everybody right now across the city, especially with what's going on tonight. So definitely public safety. Secondly, probably the biggest issue is helping people experiencing homelessness get access to the services that they need and get moved into housing, housing affordability, business recovery certainly is always one of our top priorities. And then I think those are probably the big three at the moment.
Thank you.
But always helping with transportation issues in Georgetown. I should always say that too.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Romanowski. Any other questions?
Rick, we do have one from the audience right now.
Well, that's from Eric. I will go ahead and respond because Brian has referred to it a couple of times. What we are all aware of, and we're at the start of the meeting, but only just at the start of the meeting, is there's been an incident in Georgetown this evening, very recently, and a shooting is what's come across the alert at the corner of 33rd and M. We don't know anything more than that, but that is where Ms. Noakes of the mayor's office is right now. And if we hear anything more during the course of the meeting, we will pass it on.
And
Yeah.
Rick, I should have clarified too. It was Tom Birch from the audience that had his hand raised.
Oh, okay.
I saw Eric did have his question.
Oh, I saw the note from Eric Lagenbacher. So yes, please, if Mr. Birch, Chairman Emeritus Birch, has something to say, please let him in.
And I can just add the incident tonight, it seems like it was an adult male was shot and is in traumatic arrest and is being brought to a trauma center. That's the latest we have heard.
Thank you, Brian.
And to follow that, Tom, I have you unmuted. You may need to unmute yourself.
All right. Go ahead.
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Romanowski, my comment has to do with the installation of LED lights throughout the city. As has been mentioned by others on the commission, I was on the commission years back, and the same issue was before us, and the concern was significant. And I think if you've heard that concern continues, certainly we appreciate your offer to post the legislation for everyone to see, but I hope, can we rely on you to convey to Councilmember Pinto the concerns of this committee, which are not immediate, they're of long standing, and they're deeply concerned.
Well, Mr. Birch, I think we're a little even more concerned than you suggest. Mr. Romanowski briefly misspoke and said it was legislation. In fact, it's a contract that's been signed. I don't think there's any legislation pending.
So doesn't the council have to vote on the contract?
I don't know. Do they? Is that correct?
Yeah,
Mr.
they're
Romanowski?
voting on the contract tomorrow. Yes.
Well,
Tomorrow.
if there's any opportunity, I'll go ahead. Anyway, those are my comments. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'll talk to the council member tonight to make sure she knows ahead of the vote tomorrow.
Yeah,
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman Emeritus Birch. For those who don't know, Mr. Birch served on the ANC for a total of 14 years and 2 terms, and knows more about what goes on in Georgetown than the 6 of us combined, frankly. So thank you. Yes, if you would convey our concerns. I'm very concerned because this is sort of consistent with the District Department of Transportation's behavior in recent years, that something like this would appear without anybody receiving any notice of it. So, any other questions for Mr. Romanowski?
I was just going to add, if you have a question, and this is at any point during the meeting, question or comment, you can raise your hand at the bottom of the screen or dial *9 if you're on a phone. That's *9.
Okay, moving on in the agenda. Thank you, Brian. We appreciate your doing double duty tonight, and what obviously is a distressing evening in Ward 2 and in the neighborhood in particular. Okay, next up we have an update from the Department of Parks and Recreation. Mr. Jones of the department is supposed to be on. I hope he's here. And if you could, Tommy, please come on and give us an update. And we did ask you in prior to the meeting that we would like specifically for you to provide information on how the Jelliff Community Center is being maintained in the time while we wait for the actual renovation project to begin.
Well, thank you so much, Chairman Murphy, and thank you to ANC 2E. As I've always mentioned, it must be a labor of love, because this is, in my time at DPR, this has been the commission that I have attended more ANC meetings in any time in my district government service. So thank you for what you do and how you support residents in Georgetown and all of the other communities that you serve. Tonight, Chairman, I thought that I would do something a little bit different from what we talked about, but I promise you, I think you'll appreciate it. Is to just talk about DPR a little bit, just to give the commission and the community just some snippets of information that we do, and then to relate to the commission on capital related projects that are in your commission. And I want to also respond to your letter. And I think, Chairman Murphy and I had an opportunity to talk about it a little bit further We do recognize the capital related projects that are in your commission. You are one of a few commissions that actually have projects that are sort of all coming up right around the same time. I know another ward in Ward 5, they have projects ongoing and coming through for the next couple of years. So we have some cases where this is similar. So I did have an opportunity to pull up, our team put up, helped me prepare PowerPoint for tonight. I just, Peter, I should be able to share my screen, right?
Yep, there's a green share screen button at the bottom of the screen, and then a pop-up. You just have to choose the right presentation.
Okay.
Perfect.
Perfect. I think I can do it. I think I can. I think I can. I know I can. I know I can. There we go. All right. So thank you very much. I'll click to the next slide. Tonight, I just wanted to give folks that probably do not know just a little bit of overview of DPR, talk about some capital projects that I think are on all of the commission's mind, talk about how residents can learn a little bit more about events that are coming up about, and then just sort of give you our contact information and conclude at the end. So just as an overview, DPR, your DPR, is the #1 ranked park system in the country, and we by the Lands of Public Trust. And so that's been, we were #2 the year before. We have retained our title at #1. And it's really because of the investments that the district has made to having a very robust park system. We offer, we have 243 sites across 725 acres of green space in all 8 wards. And we have, as you all know, hundreds of plus capital related projects to improve the quality of life in our communities. So one of the things that our team did, our capital projects team did, was they provided just some specifics. And I think Chairman Murphy, in our conversation, you really wanted us to talk about some specifics and try to answer some questions. I'm gonna try to do that for you today. If we don't have some specific answers to your questions, what we'll do is we'll try to provide those to you in a formal write-up back to you, if you don't mind. So as we all know, the first one where we've dealt a lot is Duke Ellington Field. It has a budget of $3.5 million. The project will address lighting, ADA access, upgrading the running track. So the concept design, which many of you were in those community meetings, has been complete. And DGS is working to procure a design build firm. And so that's right now in contracts and procurement. So from our standpoint, that procurement is still ongoing. So our hope is that, let me see here, is that we can, begin going back in the spring and summer. We'll be in design and hopefully construction in the fall of 2022, with spring 2023 being the completion of the project. And I know the community, work through the community, will continue to work with the community as we answer some of the very tough questions that many of individuals have asked us about. And some of those decisions still have not been made. And we look to work with the community as we go forward. So I think many of you have sort of seen some of the concept designs. This is ideally what we've talked about, from curb cuts to bike racks. We did have the optional design for the dog park. There was opportunities for possible pickleball, the field, the track. So these are just some of the ideas that we did talk about. And then there is placement. I know we're still working through this discussion on the lighting there. There has been multiple discussions. We can go on. There has not been any decision that has been made on the lighting, but these are ideally where those lighting poles could be. I know this next project is probably near and dear to a few of the commissioners here, and probably all, is Jelliff Recreation Center. I want to say first, thank you to this commission for its advocacy and its work related to this project. the investments, the additional investments from Councilmember Pinto and Mayor Bowser, and just the advocacy from the community on this. Right now, where are we? We're in procurement. This project is budgeted for over $28 million. We did, with your help, there was a feasibility study that was completed. And now the scope of work is being prepared based on the designs or some of the work from the feasibility study. And it will be reviewed by DPR and then given to our contracts and procurement team to post for an architectural firm. We do need that architectural firm to be hired so that we can begin in earnest additional community engagement and to really move this project forward. So just to give some timelines, and these are our best timelines on this project as of right now. So we are looking at designs and permits to be in the summer of 2022 to fall 2023. So what that means is that we will be working with the community through a robust community engagement process to look at how we will best design this project in this recreation center. And we're looking to ideally be around the summer to the fall of 2023. We'll go into construction anticipated by winter of 2023 and until spring of 2025. That is our best estimate at this time. And I know there'll probably be several questions about that, and I'd be happy to take those questions. I do want to say one thing is that DPR works in partnership with the Department of General Services. So when we're talking about procurement and procuring of an architectural firm, we work with their procurement department to be able to solicit for an architectural firm to do that type of work to help us be prepared for design and permits. So we are working in partnership with them, and we have definitely let them know the urgency of this project. And we've also let them know about the many steps that the community has taken and really want to move forward. But we do need that architectural firm to be hired so that we can begin the other steps to this process. So, Commissioner Laos, I think you probably know, and a few others probably know a lot about Rose Park and some of the challenges that Rose Park and its HVAC and heating system has had. So the agency was able to budget $150,000 to replace the aging HVAC and heating system there. That is in procurement with DC Department of General Services. We believe that it'll be designed and move forward in the spring, and construction will be in the summer. So ideally, we'll definitely have a new system as the summer months approach. Another one that has been near and dear, and I can remember when former commissioner, I believe it was former Commissioner Gibbons, was on the commission, and his interests and others' interests related in the Friends of Volta Park, their interest in the athletic field. So there is budgeted for $700,000 to renovate the field, to do grading and sod and an irrigation system, which is much needed if you've been on that field. Right now, DGS is drafting a scope of work and has prepared for us to do some site visits, and the next step is for DPR also to then review. We'll be in design, which will be spring, which is in the next couple of months, excuse me. And then we will be looking to do construction around summer 2022 and then fall 2022. So those are the, Chairman Murphy, those are some of related capital projects and construction projects that are in ANC 2E.
Well,
This-
I think what we could do now, Tommy, if it's okay with you, is move to questions from the
Yep.
commissioners who are specifically interested in those projects, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely. And thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
I did, and then Chairman Murphy, I just put my contact information here, as well as my colleague Brent Cisco. We are both responsible for the community engagement in capital related projects for DPR. And then just if there's anyone that has any other related just questions to DPR, maybe you can't get to us right away in our numbers, please call our customer care line. They're open traditionally from 9 to 5 and are able to help and fill you in if you need. So Chairman Murphy, I'm happy to answer any questions.
okay. If we could, if you could take your presentation down so I can see people raise hands. Do we have questions for Mr. Jones? Commissioner Mitchell?
Hey, Tommy, thank you for everything that you're doing. And we're very excited about all these projects. My question is around Volta Park.
Yes,
During the design phase, will you allow community input? I've been getting a lot of emails about, people questioning how the fields may get positioned or things like that, but I'd like to give some feedback to them.
Sure. I think I'm not for certain on how, we normally do these very drawn out meetings. I don't know per se how much of what we do, but I know in this case, there may be some need, there will be some need because this field will need that. What I would say, Commissioner Mitchell, if we can talk about your thoughts on how we can do that effectively in keeping the spirit of moving the project forward. I think we definitely want to consider the Friends of Volta Park, some of the local leagues that play sports there. And I also want to particularly think about some of those that have animals, our pet friendly community, that it sometimes use the field in a way that is not truly it's designed for, right? So people I know it, and you probably know it too, is that people like to run their dogs off leash. Well, that's not the appropriate use of that. But we need to figure out some best ways to help. So I'd be more than happy to work with you in an effective manner in that.
Great, thank you. I'll reach out to you. Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Very good. Commissioner Puta?
Hi, Tommy. How are you?
Well, hello there, Commissioner Puda. Happy New Year.
Happy 2022.
Yes.
Hopefully we make even more progress this year. Thanks for being here again.
Can I ask you to speak up just a little bit? I have.
Sure. How's this, Tommy? Is it a little better?
I'm going to turn mine up. Sure, go ahead.
Sorry. I'll speak even louder. Tommy, I put 2 questions in the chat, but I have a third, and let me start with that. Thank you for your long response letter to our commission's resolution on JELF. I did appreciate you taking the time to respond and respectfully, even if you didn't agree with some of the things we proposed. But I did want to come back to you on one of them in particular that we feel strongly about. We asked as a commission to have a formal community input team, similar to what DCPS does with all their school modernizations, a SIT team. And I saw in your response that you think that it's not necessary because you have a lot of other community engagement approaches that you have, and you do. But we think that what DCPS does is even better as to formalize a process when there's so much resources being committed to our community, to a center after so many years. There's so many people who are interested. And specifically, Tommy, I did go back and look, the Palisades, their rec center with their big investment and their big renovation several years ago, they did have a SIT team there that met monthly, that had community advocates. I saw something online about it. I did some research. and that that they met monthly and had stakeholders and a survey. And so I would redouble our request for it. If the Palisades could do it for theirs, why can't we do it? You won't be let down by us. We promise to be very engaged and make sure that it's worth your time, so that we don't have to, lose time and go backwards. We hope that you'll consider it, and Elizabeth and I can follow up with you on that. We hope you'll
Well,
reconsider.
sure. Well, first of all, let me, if you don't mind, let me respond a little bit. First of all, I'm never, ever, I never want the community to think that we're not appreciative, or we think that the advisory neighborhood commissioners in their role and their capacity is not it. We understand that at DPR, right? And we know what you have to do. And I can't thank, Elizabeth enough for the text messages to me. She would probably think, was she a pain? But it wasn't. It was, Tommy, we want to make sure that these individual stakeholders are aware, right? Or your calls to my office and to speak to our team. So we're not that. I think DC Public Schools and DPR are different in respect of our agencies and what we do and how we even serve communities. And I have a unique perspective, having worked for DGS in their role, being in the mayor's office in that role, and being a DPR, and sort of understanding different levels of community. Excluding me, I think our process at DPR actually does work. Now we can get into semantics of it working, not working, challenges. I'm not sure on Palisades. I wasn't at the agency at that time, so I can't speak to that. But what we do know is that, the rec center in its process, its community engagement process is not just about those that are right there in that particular community, like Burley, Georgetown. It is neighboring communities. I think Commissioner Miller told me, hey, Tommy, you need to talk to Glover Park. Well, you need to talk to these. So we try to do that and look at all of our different users, groups. So we like to keep it open and keep it robust. And we don't want to exclude, and we don't want any one person or individual to, have more power. But I understand your point. I think, Commissioner Puda, maybe this will be the one time where you and I will agree to disagree, and we will move forward. But our team can look through that. How about that?
Well, if I could, I'd like to support Commissioner Puda on this. It seems to me, Tommy, and this is the time to do it with respect to Jello. And Commissioners Puda and Miller have been a lot more engaged in this project than any of the rest of us. So I don't want to speak in any way different from what they're saying, because I agree with them entirely. I don't see that having a sit team that could have members from, across wards would in any way impede progress of Jello. And to the contrary, if you have a sit team with a regular meeting where the agency has to be engaged with the stakeholders at regular intervals, I think that's in everybody's best interest. So I would encourage you to take Commissioner Puda's suggestion back to your colleagues at DPR and also at DGS to consider whether that's something that can be done.
Sure. Understood. Thank you so much, Chairman.
Commissioner Miller?
I just want to clarify too that this isn't to the exclusion of what you usually do. I think it's in addition to what you usually do. So it's, it's the model at DCPS. And while they are different agencies, they're not so different. And I think it does really, I think they do a good job, and it's really helpful for everybody. So I do ask for a reconsideration on that if humanly possible. I have two quick questions for you though. Number one is about procurement on almost all of these projects has been going on for kind of a long time. And looking at your calendar, I don't I don't, and on your website, I don't get a good sense of what the timeline on. If we were on a sit, it would have a little bit more, but I don't get a good sense of your timeline. I mean, how much longer? Can we have it done by March 1st? Where do we stand with that? And then my second question, especially the question on can we get it done by March 1st? And then a second question is that I drive by Jelliff almost every single day on my way to Safeway for something. It is literally falling apart. They have tarps on the top of the roof held with bricks. They've put in tons and tons and tons of requests. And I think some of it, we've all kind of been like, well, we're about to go under construction, but now it doesn't really look like that. It looks like it's going to be a while. We have 100 aftercare kids in there. It's bordering on unsafe. And I think we need to take some money and get that place into better shape than it is right now. So I'm hoping you can address that. Bob Stowers has a long list. He's placed a bunch of 311 requests. So we can get that to you ASAP. And if there's a way we can expedite, getting some of that improvement, that would be great.
First of all, thank you, Commissioner Miller. It's good to see you. Happy New Year.
And I failed to say, I totally agree with anonymous Zoom user who said you are truly the nicest person in all of DC government. Every time I testify, I try to say that. You are such a bright, shiny, good person. So sorry.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So I think this is the challenge. Commissioner Miller, I'm not 100% sure that March 1st will be the date. We're not, we at DPR are not the ones that handle the procurement side of it, right? And so we have escalated and asked and put pressure, as much pressure as we could to get that done. But as you know, or we all know that DGS has that procurement authority that supports maintenance and things of all the district assets. We have at DPR, you can be assured, our director on down, we have really been trying to press this forward. To be honest, these are the dates that our capital projects team who meets with DGS weekly is giving me to give to you. I encourage this commission, if you want to reach out to DGS on that, you can. I mean, we all are responsible to you all and our goods, and we try to be as best, but this is the information I have. And I honestly want to say that. I'm not 100% sure because I don't know where there's processes, let me get this right. There's processes, is that right? There's a process in the process. Thank you. And so I want you to know that we are working extremely hard to get this done. I want this project done. Do you know how much I want this done more than probably all of you? And I don't live in Georgetown or in the Jelliff community, but I want it done because
I'll be off your back.
Well, that would. But I think the other part is it is an aging facility, right? And it needs the levers to be able to do what a community wants it to do. I have been fortunate to go to many rec centers and to see what the strength of a fully modernized recreation center can do for a community. Classic example is if you can see the work that was done at Edgewood, which was an old field house and was put into, it's active, it's vibrant, it's used. And so I know it'll be used. But I encourage, we'll keep putting these requests through to DGS. I will try to continue to update you as much as I can on it. If I hear something new, I'll make sure I text, or email you both to just let you know. But this is really honestly what I have right now.
Okay, yeah, we probably ought to move on. Do we have anything else for Mr. Jones? Commissioner Lowe's?
Hi, Tommy, and I'll support that you are the nicest person in the federal
Thank you.
the city government. As you know, DPR worked with us to redo the Rose Park Field last year. And
Yes.
there are still some remaining items that DGS needs to work on. And I've communicated with DGS for the last 7 months on those items. And I'm just looking for how we can work with you to wrap up those items. We have an irrigation system which is an amazing irrigation system, and we're fully appreciative of it, but it's broken. And there's some benches that were pushed into the ground and they need to be pulled up. There's some brick sidewalk still that needs to be finished. You know the list. I've spoken with you about it. How do we get DGS's attention on that? What do you recommend?
Yeah, what I recommend, Commissioner, if you can re-share that list with me so that I can have that top of my email list. We will work with our team, and I will elevate it to our senior leadership team, these concerns that you all have, to make sure that they are addressed.
The field, we really appreciate that it was redone.
Thank
We
you,
just want
Elizabeth,
to
too. I
finish.
think I have, Elizabeth, I think I have yours.
Yeah.
But just put them, if you guys have my email address, just if it comes back top of line, I think it helps me just go through those.
Great. I'll resend that. And I've been working with Cameron at DGS. So
Okay.
I'll resend that. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just want to, one thing I did not put into the chat or in the text, Chairman, but I do want to mention, because many of you, like Rose Park, Volta Park, and I think probably it will happen with Jelliff, is that you all have friends of groups that really support the work in which you want to do in the community and support through programs and events and so forth and so forth. I want to thank you for your groups, for their work and their support and their advocacy for DPR. We can't thank you enough for that, because that helps us tell the story to the council, to the communities and others. I do want to encourage, I'm going to put a shameless plug in, because part of my role is the philanthropic support, both in volunteerism and others. Please continue to work with our team to let us know any events or programs that you're having or want to do, or how you want to set up friends of groups and things. Please let us know on that. And then additionally, with respect to the new centers, the new Jelliff Recreation Center, I want to implore on the community, if there are those that are interested in supporting the recreation center with rooms or equipment or things, to please let us know early, because that will help as we build the design collectively as a community, right? And how that will be able to support. So we don't have all of it yet, but I want to make
be very careful about private people supporting our.
Well, I understand that.
Please,
No, I
please.
understand that.
Okay.
I understand that. Right. And I get it. I've seen it all. So I just tell you all the information. I'm not.
It can work. I'm not saying it can work, but it can also not work.
It can also backfire. Absolutely. And we got it. Trust me. I'm not trying to. I'm just giving the information.
That's why.
Tommy, thank you.
I would just say that things like that are why it would be good to have a monthly meeting on this stuff, so you can.
Yeah, absolutely. I get you. I'm going to take it back. I'll respond back. I think it was. Did you want me to speak to Eric, or no? Or Eric, is he can? Eric from Burley's?
Well, I think we need to move on. We've spent a lot of time on this topic tonight. Tommy, thank you so much for taking time out and spend time with you. And yes, you are the nicest person in DC government. So that's why you get called on all the time. So thanks so very much. And we will see you again, I'm sure.
Yes, we will. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next up is Commissioner Miller. I think you have someone you would like to introduce.
Yeah, I think Jessica and Ezra just raised their hands to get on, and I'll introduce them while they're getting on. I just want to note that our ANC is very concerned about the state of Georgetown, from the aesthetics to empty storefronts. And in fact, tonight we are voting on 2 resolutions, one that asks for more vigorous enforcement of the regulations and guidelines that apply to neon signs and sandwich boards in the Georgetown Historic District, and another that asks DDOT to replace brick where they illegally installed playground material. Where our ANC can take action to keep Georgetown beautiful, we will do so aggressively. We want to do everything in our power to build back our beautiful and special village. So at our 2022 meetings, we will be hearing from a range of speakers who are doing creative and interesting things to make their communities relevant and strong in a very different environment. As we all know, our beloved Georgetown has been hit hard by COVID and store closures, and we need the most creative and out-of-the-box thinkers to set the course. For our first meeting of the minds, I needed to look no further than the 2 people doing the coolest things around here, Jessica and Ezra Glass. So thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to hearing about all the great things you guys have been up to and what you have planned for the year ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, there you go, Ezra. Hi, Jessica.
Hi, guys.
Please tell us what you've got going.
Sure. So I guess over the past several years now, we've brought about 15 different local small businesses to Georgetown, and kind of our drive this year is to do more of the same. Through kind of our networking and everything else, we've developed good relationships with people in the restaurant community and other smaller local businesses that we think would be a good fit for Georgetown. So coming up this year, we've got 3 restaurants opening in different properties we have, and we're in talks with more tenants. Unfortunately, we're kind of out of space. So we also are looking for buildings this year to find places to match with tenants. Jessica, you want to talk a little bit about?
I mean, I think a little bit about sort of how we think about Georgetown is we started really with the ambition of thinking about local tenants that would serve the needs of locals rather than sort of the tourist population that came through, making it a better place for people who live here and come from local areas. And every tenant that we brought to the area, we personally went out and hand selected and, you know, convinced them about the story of Georgetown and why we thought it was important for them to come here. And, you know, we started with, you know, these variety of projects that we've done around town. The most recent one has really been to pursue some of the really great restaurateurs in Georgetown to the area. And we have 3. I wish I could tell you who they were, because I think you guys will be very excited when you hear who's coming. But it was a very specific and concentrated effort of bringing tenants that would start to bring some energy back to the nighttime in Georgetown, because we've lost that day part. We sort of consolidate the visitors and sort of the activity in Georgetown into sort of the midday part. And we're very interested in trying to stretch the day longer for both the existing tenants that are here and for the growth and health of Georgetown to the future. So, the restaurant piece is an important one, and having a nighttime, a set of nighttime venues that people will go to, I think is also important. We're going to continue to think about different ways to bring traffic here in the evenings. I mean, there's some ideas afoot about some music activities and different things we'd like to be involved with, but we're locals. We've been here for 10 years. We plan to, continue trying to bring energy here. And, that's really where our energy is focused at the moment.
Okay, thank you, Ezra. Anybody got any questions for Ezra and Jessica? Well, Commissioner Lowe's.
Hi, Ezra. Hi, Jessica. Thanks for coming on tonight. Can you speak a little bit more about the work that you all do to find businesses to come here? Just how you do that and why you do it?
Sure. So basically the way we started was we like to pick businesses that we personally would like to go to. And then we decide kind of who's best of breed in those specific different sectors. And then we actually go out and try to find who that person is and see if we can convince them to come to Georgetown. And Georgetown right now is kind of having a bit of an identity crisis. It used to be the shopping destination on M Street and up and down Wisconsin. And kind of with the rise of e-commerce and other areas of the city opening, like City Center and the Wharf, some of the shopping has kind of spread out across the city or disappeared entirely. So, and Tyson's and all those malls have similar stores. So we have to kind of, as Georgetown, kind of re-identify what we want to be or what is Georgetown's brand going forward. So when we pull in tenants, we try to think of things that are more unique and create a unique opportunity for people to come to Georgetown. I mean, Georgetown has awesome bones. They have amazing walkable areas, beautiful houses, parks, and the ability to support arts and do cool things that other parts of the city can't really do. So finding tenants that would thrive here and attract people to here is kind of what we try to do in addition to that. So it's not just finding tenants that are best for us, but it's finding tenants that are going to help enhance the entire community.
Excellent. Excellent.
That's
Yeah, we
helpful.
actually literally go, into restaurants and we say, we want to talk to somebody about coming to Georgetown because we think, your business would thrive there. And there's actually a value that tenants have from sort of your confidence about the fact that they're a good fit. I think you guys as representatives of Georgetown actually have some of that same sway, in finding somebody who you really think could thrive here and starting those conversations and, you still have to make that pairing up with the right space, which is something that we really have put a lot of energy into figuring out, and also sort of brokering, sort of getting through some of the red tape is another thing that we really, strive to do. I mean, and people see or tenants see as a big value in working with us. At the moment, we really do have many, many tenants who would like to be in Georgetown. They're just trying to figure out the space that would work for them and like get over the fear factor of what they might run into in the process. I think that, the energy around Georgetown is still very positive in the greater city. I mean, the tenants we talk to are like, I'd love to be in Georgetown. They really do have fond memories of, times when they either grew up in the area or experiences they've had here. I think also the outdoor seating for the restaurants has been a pretty good, piece of the equation because it's given them a little outdoor space, which is a very positive thing, particularly in Georgetown.
Let me ask a question.
Go ahead,
Oh,
Rick.
sorry. Well, I just turn it around for a moment. We have spent, in my time on the commission, a lot of time worrying about the health of our commercial corridors. And I'm often at a loss to come up with ideas of what I can do. So I'll ask you, from the point of view of somebody who's trying to attract businesses to Georgetown, what can the elected representatives of the neighborhood do to help?
So that's a good question. I think a couple of things. One is I think be vocal with the landlords and people who are doing this work in Georgetown with who you would like to see in your neighborhoods. I think that's actually quite helpful, kind of hearing from the community what they actually want to see here. And then also when these businesses do come, help support them and also kind of help shepherd them through this process. A lot of the businesses we work with, because they're smaller, need a lot more hand holding than like the national chains or larger restaurant groups. And support from the ANC and kind of help through everything from the liquor licensing stuff to just general alterations on buildings and licensing and everything else really goes a long way with these guys.
My experience has
Yeah,
been very positive in terms of ANC support.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I see that happening. And I think the last little piece is, some of the OGB stuff where like logistically dealing with infrastructure can be still pretty challenging and time consuming. So to me, that's one of the last hurdles that I'm still working to get over more efficiently so that I don't have to say, hey, it's going to take you 2 years to get into Georgetown, but you might be able to do it somewhere else in 1 year. Like that's the terrible, like, that's just not an equitable like situation. You have to figure out, it has to be as efficient as most places. So anyway, that's still one last piece of the challenge.
And I want to echo what Rick said. That was exactly what I was going to ask. What can we do? And if you can come back to us and as ideas unfold, because obviously, as everyone said here, we do want to help.
So I would say one other thing is I'm very interested in the concept of micro communities within Georgetown, like finding a little, like what we were very lucky to have it in on Gray Street was enough space that we could say, hey, these collection of things will work better together, and like there's comfort in numbers. So if you have like 3 buildings or 4 buildings, I mean, I just was going on Wisconsin, and there were like 6 openings. And I was like, wow, if I had control of all of these, I could put a really cool combination of things where, you get more confidence by knowing, oh, well, he's going to be here, so that makes me want to be here more. It's just very difficult when it's really disparate parts. So, that really helped in our selling of Gray Street. It was like, hey, you're going to be here with South Block, and we're going to have coffee, and like you could strengthen numbers. That's all I can say. So micro communities, that little slice of P Street could be an amazing micro community. That little slice of Wisconsin, very cool micro community. We just have to figure out how we can group together to make those things actually, take off.
I understand Mr. Birch had his hand up. Peter, is that still the case?
Yeah. No, we just disappeared.
Okay.
Tom, you may have to unmute yourself.
There we go.
I did.
There he is.
Wow. First of all, I want to say thanks for being before the community this evening. I just find very exciting what you've done on Gray Street, and I think of it as our own sort of little union market. And it's just really brought a whole new, list of assets to Georgetown. So my questions are a couple. First of all, I wonder if there are particular areas like the Gray Street, sort of collection that you're looking at in terms of, kind of enlivening some of the dead corners of Georgetown. It sounds that what you've just been talking about, you're probably still looking to identify some of those. But I just a couple of other comments and then have your reaction. You mentioned, Ezra, bringing the arts or cultural offerings to Georgetown. 20, 30 years ago, this was the big music scene in Georgetown. And we, aside from Blues Alley now, I mean, we just don't have it. And it was all kinds of, artists that were brought in. And so to be able to find some places to get that started again would be good as well. We also used to be, the gallery scene. That's so fluid and changes and depends on really cheaper rents. So maybe that can't come back. And you mentioned the OGB. I was on the commission for 14 years as a commissioner, and the OGB was kind of my portfolio. My suggestion there is a little, well, not a little, but planning before going to the old Georgetown board can really cut the time. It doesn't need to be a long drawn out process. A couple of months of review, maybe 3 months, and that's it. But anyway, thank you so much for being. I live over on 29th Street. I know where you live. I like what you've done to your house.
Thank you.
And so it's great having you here. Thanks.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks.
And let me just add is we need to close out and move on. Let me just make one suggestion. The 6 of us here, we represent both residents and businesses. In general, we believe having a thriving business community is to the benefit of the residents. Sometimes there is conflict, and it's inevitable.
Yeah.
So we can't always be agreeing with you, but the one thing that I think we can do to help you and your colleagues like Chris Martin and others in the neighborhood that are in, is we can help demystify the process. Even if I might not ultimately support an application, I'm happy, and I'm sure I speak for all of my colleagues, I'm happy to talk with a potential client to explain how it works. Because I've found that a lot of people, particularly smaller entrepreneurs, don't have any idea of how the process works, and as a result, it becomes really scary for them. So
that's definitely true. Yeah, we have had a wonderful experience with you guys, by the way. And, you guys have answered any questions we've had and really helped kind of expedite the processes we've had in front of you. So we appreciate everything you do, and we enjoy being business owners here and also living here.
Yeah, we're doubling our energies here. We've are letting go of properties in a few other parts of town, and just this is really the only place we're going to be working. And so we'll see more of you.
Well, good. Well, thank you for taking time to bring this up. This has been very helpful, I think, everybody. So thanks very much.
Sure.
Can't wait to hear about the new restaurants too. Yay.
So next we're going to move on to our inevitable longtime favorite agency, DC Water, who's Amanda Zander, I believe, is going to be on to talk about what's going on with the sewer separation project that is making life so miserable for the folks at the south end of 31st Street and on South Street right now. Hi, Amanda.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, let me go ahead and share my screen and then I can get started. Make sure you guys can. Let's see, does everybody see my screen?
Yes.
All right, great. So I'm going to go through this presentation pretty quickly. I want to stick to my allotted 5 minutes. But yes, I'm Amanda Zander. I'm one of the outreach coordinators for DC Water's Clean Rivers Project. Just going to provide a quick update on the work we have going on in Georgetown and a few of the areas that we'll be starting construction at soon. As a reminder, the Clean Rivers Project is working towards reducing combined sewer overflows to all the district's waterways. We are under a federally mandated consent decree to do all of this by 2030. And we have 2 projects that are occurring in Georgetown, including the CSO 2526 sewer separation project, which you see in the blue dots, as well as the Potomac River Tunnel project. That's going to occur through Georgetown. And we are currently working on the advanced utility construction phase for the tunnel. So I've talked to you quite a bit, as Chair Murphy said, about our project. And just as a reminder, for our sewer separation project, we are in 3 main locations in Georgetown, 31st Street and K Street, Wisconsin and K, as well as Water Street and Potomac Street. So the only construction project we have going on right at this time is related to the sewer separation project. And we are currently working in the 31st Street and South Street area. We have a work zone occurring on the east side of 31st Street between South and K. And we also have a work zone at the intersection of South Street and 31st Street. At that intersection, we do have South Street closed, so there's no access to 31st from South or to South from 31st Street. Local traffic can still access South Street via Wisconsin Avenue. And there are some pedestrian detours and some parking restrictions associated with this site. We think we'll be able to wrap up the work there in the March timeframe. The next site that we'll be moving to, and we expect to start the site in the upcoming weeks, is the Water Street and Potomac Street area. And that area will have a small work zone that will require us to direct traffic with flaggers through a 2-way 1-lane configuration. So that traffic direction by flaggers will occur within the specific 9:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. time frame. And outside of that time frame, the traffic will be the normal 2-way configuration. Another thing to note with this site is that it will require us to do a bike detour in the area of this work zone. So during the entire time that we are at the site, approximately 2 to 3 months, we will be detouring the bike lane into Waterfront Park between 34th Street Northwest and Cecil Place Northwest. And the other site related to this project is the Wisconsin Avenue Northwest site. That work is expected to start later this spring. That work will not begin until we are completed at the 31st and South Street area. And as that work approaches, we'll be providing more details regarding traffic impacts through our notifications and through other meetings. So the other project, the Potomac River Tunnel project, is going to be beginning tunnel construction will begin later in 2023. It's going to extend from the Blue Plains Advanced Water Treatment Plant all the way over through the Potomac River. It ends in Georgetown. There are 3 main sites within Georgetown related to that project, and I'll talk about those coming up. But currently we are just working on the advanced utility construction phase, which is the phase in which we build all of the electrical infrastructure that's going to be needed to support the actual tunnel. So I'll start off by talking about our CSO 28 site, because that work is going to be starting likely next week. Many of you may have received an email from me today regarding that site and the impacts there, but the work at that location will be occurring on the Capitol Crescent Trail right by the Washington Canoe Club. We estimate that it'll take about 2 months for us to do the work in that area. It'll occur in this red shaded area that you see on the map. And as part of that work, we will continue to keep the Capitol Crescent Trail open, as well as access to the Canoe Club. We'll just be using flaggers during the construction work hours to direct traffic through those areas. Later this year, we'll be working on another site for this advanced utility construction phase of the Potomac River Tunnel. That site will be in the 30th Street and K Street area, as well as the K Street and Potomac Street area. So we'll come back as that approaches to talk more in detail about those sites. And as a reminder, each of these projects, they have their own 24/7 project hotline. They also have their own email and website. This presentation tonight is posted on both of the websites, as well as the previous presentations that we've provided. So you can find more information there, and I am happy to answer any questions.
Okay, if you could, Amanda, if you could take your presentation down so I can see people raise their hands. Thank you. Do we have any questions for Ms. Sander?
Hi, I have one.
Of course you do.
First, to give credit where credit's due, I really, really want to thank you for having your team pre-treat South Street and parts of 31st Street before the storm that actually didn't really happen this time around. But not only do I appreciate it, I actually received notes from residents in the area that have said that our streets have never actually been pre-treated because some of our blocks are so small and out of the way for the DPW trucks. And folks were very, very appreciative. So thank you for doing that, even though it was not part of the contract. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. And it's my understanding that it was a combination of our contractor and DPW. We did
on the call. So I just want to bring up the question about parking, which you and I have been talking about quite a bit. It's my understanding that on each of the projects, there's a construction zone, and in that area, that's where the work is occurring. And long ago, we had requested that construction vehicles be staged not at the sites in residential parking in particular, because there's so little residential parking in the area. I just would I know you've been working on this. I would really like to reiterate that, particularly as you start moving to different sites, people are really, really frustrated by the number of anchor construction trucks that are along the street, parallel parked in areas that seem not entirely contiguous with the construction sites. So I'd like to continue to work with you on that, but I also want to let the residents who are on the call tonight know that this is something that we are working on, and I hope you'll be able to continue to take the lead on addressing it.
Yeah, we know that there's been a lot of inconveniences with the project in general, and we continue to work on the parking. We continue to talk to the contractor about that. The contractor is listening in on this call, so I think he's getting the message loud and clear as well. But we are trying to really limit the amount of work vehicles to areas that won't impact residential parking or commercial parking. And we're, brainstorming ways that we can further limit that, maybe looking at some other parking options within the community. So it's something that we will continue to work on. And, I apologize for the times that this has been an issue for the community.
Thank you. And to the extent that either I or John Weavenson from the bid can get on the phone with you and continue to map out places that might be more suitable spots for your construction vehicles, I feel very comfortable speaking for John here and saying that, you know, we'd both be eager to do that.
Okay, yeah, I will. I'll definitely include you guys. It's something we talk about at every meeting, and I think we're gonna try to find a better solution, hopefully. And I know we'll be, you know, continuing work here for quite a bit of time, so it's something we're taking pretty seriously. And Commissioner Puta, I just saw your message, and I believe we'll be resuming maintenance for green alleys in the spring. It's usually a March through December activity, so I'll definitely be in touch as that comes. I'll be taking a bit of a break from March to the August timeframe for maternity leave, but I'll make sure that all of you have the correct contacts that you'll need at the Clean Rivers Project. During that time, there'll be plenty of people that will be able to help you out.
Okay, well, congratulations. I spotted the changing table in the background. We have the same one.
Yeah, trying to hide as much behind me as I can. Thank you.
Good luck.
Yes, congratulations, Amanda.
Thank you.
We shall miss you, but we know you'll be back. So
I'll be back. Yeah. Thank
yeah,
you
this
again for
project's
giving
going
us.
to go on for a while. So
Yes, yes, you'll be seeing a lot of me, and definitely appreciate you giving us some time tonight to update the community.
thank you for taking time to be with us. We appreciate it, and we shall see you again, certainly.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next up, I think this would be Commissioner Miller to do an announcement about Takeout Tuesday.
Super quick reminder that Takeout Tuesday is back. It's very easy. On Tuesdays, you have a choice to order in from 2 different restaurants. Tomorrow's restaurants are Martin's Tavern that has tacos on Tuesday, or Bistro Le Pique. Each week, check the listserv or next door for the announced restaurants, and please order takeout to support our restaurants. If we want them here at the end of the pandemic, it is time to support them. They are struggling, not only because of the pandemic, but because of winter. And I think we all know that people are getting sick. You have to quarantine. It's hard to hire staff. There's just a lot of issues that are coming to this giant, what did they call that storm in the Northeast? Like the kooky, that's what it is.
Bomb cyclone.
The bomb cyclone has hit the restaurants. So it's kind of our personal responsibility to order takeout, and it's no hardship. Additionally, there is, thank you, Nancy Taylor Bubis. Again, there is a wonderful raffle, and we are supporting small businesses. So each week we purchase 2 $50 gift cards that go to a winner of the raffle. And this week, 2 people won, but a darling woman said, I'm expecting a baby. And please, I would love a gift card from one of 3 different adorable places she had found in Georgetown to buy a baby gift. So it's just a great, everything about it is great. And I'm hopeful people will order takeout, all of you too.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Miller. Next, we've got an announcement from CAG, from the Citizen Association of Georgetown, about a program they're going to have on next Wednesday. Tara, are you on to make that announcement?
This is Commissioner Lowe's, and we did add CAG a link to their announcement for Black History Month is on the agenda, and they're urging people to go. Oh, Tara's on. Great. Sorry.
Tara's on.
That.
Yeah, I knew she was on the list. So, hi, Tara. You're on mute. There we go.
Hi, good evening. Gwen, thank you so much for teeing this up. We've been working really hard with Mount Zion, and Monica Roche, who is also a former ANC, and are preparing an exciting program. It is going to be on this book, which is called Black Georgetown Remembered, and it is for sale on Amazon, but you'll be getting more information about the program. Please do mark your calendars. It is going to be on Wednesday, February 9th at 6:30 p.m. You can register for the program now, and more details to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Tara. Thanks very much. And yeah, we all remember when the book came out. It's a great book. So it should be a wonderful program.
Yeah.
Okay, next we've got an announcement about Quilts for DC at Dumbarton United Methodist. Is that Commissioner Miller or Commissioner Lose?
Commissioner Lowe's,
Yeah.
at United Methodist Church on March 19th, the Woman League of Voters Quilts for DC, which are supporting statehood, were going to be displayed. They were also displayed this past Sunday. Congresswoman Norton is going to be speaking, and if you haven't seen it, it's pretty amazing. So I urge people to go and see the quilts, and it's from all over this country to support DC statehood.
And apparently there's a link to the quilt, or a website that's got the quilt on it, on our agenda. So that I assume you're responsible for that, Gwen. Good work.
I am, yep. And it's obviously the church's 250th anniversary, so another exciting reason to go into the church.
Great, thank you. Okay, moving to the new business portion of our agenda. The first item we have is consideration of a resolution concerning actions being taken by Congresswoman Norton, who was just mentioned, to address our postal delivery problems. Whose resolution is this?
Chair Murphy, this is mine, and I think it's really all of ours. Because
yeah, well, I'm sure it's going to pass. The question is who drafted it. So.
I think, as we remember, Congresswoman Norton came on our November 1st call, and we did bring up the issue of mail, and a few of us have discussed the ongoing problems. So I'm going to propose the following resolution. Over the past 2 years and into 2022, many residents of Georgetown have expressed concerns to their ANC representatives about the United States Postal Service first-class delivery service. The key concerns, complaints of around receiving first-class mail at their home that is very clearly marked for a different address, checks, tax information, bills, medical reports, personal correspondence. And then the second, sending and receiving first-class mail via the USPS that arrives is delivered significantly later than the newly published USPA first-class delivery standards, or sometimes is not delivered at all. At our November 1st, 2021 public meeting, ANC 2E shared these concerns with Congresswoman Norton and her staff, given there are federal representatives and the USPS is an establishment of the executive branch of our federal government. Since that time, the concerns continue, including some residents in ANC 2E not receiving any mail for up to 6 days. We have been and continue to encourage residents to contact your office about their experiences with USPS. ANC 2E asks that your office update ANC 2E in the coming months on the actions you are taking to communicate the challenges our residents are experiencing with the USPS. We also ask that if we or our constituents can assist you in encouraging the need for improvements to the USPS, please inform us.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Lose. Do we have a second for the resolution? Commissioner Miller, second. Any discussion among the commissioners? Hearing none, we'll take a vote. All in favor of adopting the resolution? It passes unanimously. Thank you, Commissioner Lose. Okay, next up is consideration of a resolution regarding the maintenance of brick sidewalks in Georgetown. For those of you who are not ANC 2E groupies, I will give you a little bit of background on this. Starting in March of last year, we've had a, shall we say, a spirited dialogue with the District Department of Transportation, DDOT, about how they plan to maintain sidewalks in Georgetown. The bottom line is that their own regulations require that sidewalks that need repair in Georgetown must be repaired with brick. Notwithstanding that, DDOT, without any prior consultation with the neighborhood, decided last spring to use something called porous flexible pavement, which where we've seen it is red in color. It's sort of like the material you get on playgrounds. They came out in the spring and installed it in 4 locations in Georgetown and threatened to install it in 12 others. But it all kind of came to a halt after much back and forth between ANC 2E and CAG, who was the Citizen Association, who was in the same place we were, and DDOT ground to a halt. They did not put any more in, but they didn't remove the 4 patches that they did put in, despite our repeated requests that they do so. Paving season will soon be upon us. We haven't heard anything lately, and that being the case, we thought we might want to get out ahead of this one. So I have a resolution to propose. On July 22nd, 2021, ANC 2E, having noted that patches made of porous flexible pavement had been illegally used by DDOT to repair brick sidewalks in 4 locations in the Georgetown Historic District, asked DDOT Acting Director Everett Lott to direct DDOT to remove the illegal PFP patches. And here I will attach a copy of that resolution. When Acting Director Lott chose not to respond to ANC 2E's request, ANC 2E respectfully urged Mayor Bowser and Deputy Mayor for Operations and Infrastructure, Lucinda Babers, to direct DDOT to remove the illegally installed patches. I will then attach a copy of our August 30th, 2021 resolution. In the 5 months that have passed since ANC 2E addressed its resolution to Mayor Bowser and Deputy Mayor Babers, nothing has happened. Mayor Bowser, Deputy Mayor Babers, and Director Lott have all ignored ANC 2E's requests, and the illegal PFP patches have not been removed. More importantly, however, damaged sections of brick sidewalks in Georgetown, including at numerous locations identified by DDOT as needing repair almost a year ago, have not been repaired with brick as DDOT's regulations require. The predictable but distressing result is that the brick sidewalks in Georgetown are becoming increasingly unsafe and unsightly. ANC 2E once again respectfully urges Mayor Muriel Bowser and Deputy Mayor Babers to direct DDOT to commence repairing and maintaining the brick sidewalks in the Georgetown Historic District using brick, and to immediately remove the 4 PFP patches that were illegally installed at the following locations: 2710 P Street Northwest, at the western end of the north side of the 2900 block of P Street Northwest, 3101 Dent Place, and 1640 33rd Street Northwest. Thank you. Can I have a second for that motion? Second from Commissioner Lose. Any discussion among the commissioners?
No, Mike,
We
I'm
just
doing
got a
cool.
note that
Thanks.
add the 3300 block that place. That is on the list. That was in the resolution. So, okay. Anyone else want to comment? I'm sorry. Okay. All in favor? Aye. The resolution passes unanimously. Thank you. Next item up is forecast earlier in the evening is a resolution concerning the lack of enforcement of signage regulations in Georgetown. And here the background on this is we've got 3 flavors of problems here. The first flavor is neon signs, about which we adopted a resolution in October. It is illegal under the city's ordinances and regulations to have a neon sign within 18 inches of the front window of a building, the front side. We used to have none of them. We now have them all over the neighborhood. We've asked that they be removed and nothing has happened. The second item is what is often referred to as A-frames. People sometimes call them sandwich boards, but I think sandwich boards are what you wear over your shoulders. But A-frame signage that just go out, merchants put them on the sidewalk, put them out in the morning, take them down at night, usually. They clutter the sidewalk. They're there to try and draw attention to the merchant. I understand that, but our sidewalks aren't very wide and they're crowded and they've got brick that needs maintenance. So and they're not illegal. They're not legal in public space, and yet we're not getting enforcement. And the final flavor is all the things that are hung on lampposts. We've got a lot of signage on lampposts. There are very specific rules about what you can put on lampposts and how long it can stay there. Those regulations are being ignored as well. So we have a resolution this evening with respect to those issues. And here it is. At its regularly scheduled public meeting held on October 4th, 2021, the members of ANC 2E expressed their frustration with the proliferation of illegal neon signs in storefronts and windows within the Georgetown Historic District, and called upon the Department of Consumer and Regulatory Affairs and the Historic Preservation Officer of the District of Columbia to vigorously enforce the regulations and guidelines that govern signage in Georgetown. In the 4 months that have passed since that resolution was adopted, no discernible enforcement activity has been undertaken by the responsible agencies. During the same period, first, the number of illegal freestanding, in quotes, A-frame, close quote, signs cluttering the sidewalks and adjacent public space in the Georgetown Historic District has increased. And two, signs attached to street poles in violation of DC regulations have proliferated. Neither neon signs nor freestanding signs on sidewalks and in other public space that do not comply with long-established rules are legal or appropriate in our community. And the signs on sidewalks and public space are particularly hazardous on Georgetown's historic sidewalks for pedestrians in general and individuals with mobility challenges in particular. ANC 2E hereby reaffirms, as forcefully as possible, its request that the Department of Consumer and Regulatory Affairs, the Public Space Regulation Division of the District Department of Transportation, and the district's Historic Preservation Officer commence vigorous enforcement of all of the regulations and guidelines that apply to signs in the Georgetown Historic District. Do I have a second for that resolution? Second, Commissioner Palmer. Any discussion among the commissioners? No, then all in favor? All right. Passes unanimously. Thank you all. Moving to the next item on our agenda, a resolution concerning Hardy Middle School's request for needed repairs and renovations. I believe that's Commissioner Puta.
Thank you. Yes, I have a resolution based on conversations with the parent-teacher organization of the Hardy Middle School, which is in my district. And without further ado, I think we could just I could just read it because it includes background, if that's all right. This is, and I've sent it around to the commissioners, albeit a little bit late today. Apologize for that. But again, we did make this request at Councilmember Pinto's budget town hall last week. I don't know if Brian Romanowski is still here, but I spoke with the Hardy PTO just last week, and they are very interested to get support for this request. Thus, we are doing this without delay, hopefully tonight. Without further ado, let me read the resolution. The Hardy Middle School was built in 1929, located at 1819 35th Street Northwest, and is almost 100 years old. It was last renovated 14 years ago in 2008. 4 years ago, the Deputy Mayor for Education projected that in 2022, Hardy would enroll 471 students, and in 2027, 566 kids. But already this year, in the 2021-22 school year, Hardy is up to 541, almost at the projected 2027 projected enrollment. So Hardy is growing fast, over 60% in the last 5 years. And if that keeps up, it will approach 1,000 students over the next 5 years, says the PTO. The cafeteria is already too small, according to the Hardy Parent Teacher Organization, and it needs to be expanded ASAP. In addition, the PTO reports that the small, old, non-regulation turf field at Hardy is old and in terrible shape. It is very hard and with poor traction. The PTO has reported several injuries due to the poor field condition. We note that the decision of how to use the newly acquired school facility on MacArthur Road Northwest has still not been made, more than 6 months after extensive community meetings were held and formal recommendations were made. But regardless of that decision, the Hardy School building will nevertheless require renovations that will require a long multi-year process of funding, planning, and renovation. Therefore, we support the Hardy PTO's call for a request of capital budget funds to renovate the Hardy building and ask Mayor Bowser and Councilmember Pinto to push for such a funding request in the coming budget process. We also urge DC Public Schools to finally issue a decision on the MacArthur site without delay. Thanks.
Do we have a second to Commissioner Puta's motion? Second, Commissioner Mitchell. Any discussion among the commissioners? And I think I'll quickly say we support, we all entirely support the idea of renovating and bringing Hardy up to standards. It's an important
Yes.
element of our community. And we wanted to continue to reflect how proud we are of it.
It's
So,
a great school with great potential. I'm very proud as well. Thank you.
thank you, Commissioner Puda. All in favor? Aye. The resolution is adopted. Thank you, Commissioner Puda.
Thank you.
Moving to the Alcoholic Beverage Control Board section of our agenda, we have an application for Mason's Famous Lobster Rolls at 1078 Wisconsin Avenue Northwest. That'll be in Commissioner Palmer's district. Commissioner Palmer.
Hi, yes. Is there a representative from Mason's Famous Lobster Roll on the call?
Sidon is coming through.
Great.
Sidon, you'll probably have to unmute yourself.
Takes a minute for me to get back in.
And we see you.
Hi, and I have my client here, the owner, Cameron. If you could raise your hand, I think.
While he's joining us, I'll just put a plug in for everyone to check out the lobster rolls. They're really delicious.
There she is.
Cameron, you'll have to unmute yourself and you can turn on your camera if you'd like.
Hi, sorry about that.
There you go.
Hi, Cameron.
Hi.
And I may have missed if Commissioner Palmer said anything in the beginning. I may have missed it as I was being promoted. So should I go ahead or did you want to?
Yeah, if you could just briefly explain what you're looking for and then we'll quickly issue a resolution.
So this is a new CR license at 1078 Wisconsin Avenue. It is a restaurant and they have several locations that have started to open up. And I believe this is the 11th. Cameron, is that right?
That sounds about right. This will be my pet that I own, yes.
And at this specific location, the seating capacity here that we are applying for is for 24 seats with 61 as the load, sidewalk cafe with 6 seats, and as well as a alcohol carry out and delivery endorsement. The hours of operation we've applied for 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. And I think we had some people here earlier, Ezra Glass and Jessica Glass, who were talking about having restaurants come in to Georgetown and how sidewalk cafes and are a really big part of the growth of Georgetown. I mean, restaurants are a big part of the growth of Georgetown, and you want to bring that back. And I think this is a great establishment to help do that. And I will have Cameron introduce herself, tell you a little bit more about the restaurant and what type of food they will be serving.
Great, thank you very much. And thank you very much for taking the time to hear this application tonight. I am the owner of Mason's Famous Lobster Rolls. This is my second location, as I said. We serve traditional New England fare, focusing mainly on lobster rolls, as well as clam chowder, lobster bisque, lobster grilled cheese, lobster mac and cheese. It's a very focused and limited menu. And we have been in business in Georgetown for about 7 months now. And we're really enjoying being part of the community and feel particularly sort of privileged to be on this corner. It's a really fantastic corner, and we really feel very fortunate to be there. We have, in the short time we've been here, have noticed that we think the customer experience would be greatly enhanced by being able to serve alcohol with the food. We get lots of customer requests. And so this is just part of our trying to enhance the customer experience. I think particularly in the evenings, it would be really helpful to our business, which we do notice a drop off in the evenings. So thank you very much for considering.
Thank you, Cameron. And sit on. Commissioner Palmer, do you have a resolution?
Yes, and first, before I give it, I just want to thank you for making an investment in our neighborhood. We're very happy to have you here. And as I said, my husband, who spends a lot of time who grew up spending a lot of time in New England, has great things to say about your lobster rolls.
That's really good to hear.
Can I ask, do all of your other locations serve alcohol?
They do not. It's kind of a mix. Some do, some do not.
And this may be in the weeds here, but the streetery that you have, that is part of the Reopen DC Streetery program. Is that correct?
I believe so. It was put in right before we opened.
Okay. Okay. So just as a matter of process, I'm sure this has been explained to you, but we've already started discussing what a settlement agreement could look like. So tonight the ANC will take a vote whether or not to protest the license. Please know that we are not protesting your restaurant's existence or interest in expanding. We just want to come up with some standards that both the residents and you can live with, so that we can all be great neighbors to each other.
Okay.
So with that, and this is a pretty standard resolution.
Yeah.
ANC 2E protests the application by Mason's Famous Lobster Rolls for a new retailer's Class C restaurant license at 1078 Wisconsin Avenue Northwest, Abra 120128, on the grounds of peace, order, and quiet. ANC 2E agrees to drop such protest if/when a settlement agreement is signed by ANC 2E and the applicant. And I probably, before I read that, we probably should have asked if there were any residents who wanted to comment, and I'm sorry for skipping over that. Commissioner Murphy, would that be okay?
Why don't we go ahead and get a second, and then
Okay.
we'll ask for comments.
Okay.
Commissioner Lose has seconded the resolution, so it's now on the table, but we can have comments or questions by commissioners, or go ahead, Peter, if anybody raises their hand among the public. Okay, Commissioner Lose.
I was just going to say, just a reminder for members of the public, if you want to raise your hand at any point during the meeting, you can raise your hand at the bottom of the screen or dial *9 on a phone. That's *9.
Commissioner
I
Lose?
do love, yeah, I just wanted to echo, I have been to your restaurant. I'm from Massachusetts, and I love your lobster rolls, and I'm excited that you're coming to the neighborhood.
Thank you. We appreciate the testimonials from fellow New Englanders most of all.
Well, I'll just underscore what Commissioner Palmer said, Cameron. This is the normal process. It should not be read as an indication that we're not really happy to have lobster rolls back in the neighborhood. So
Okay.
Yeah, and just to be clear, they've been there. You've been there
Yeah.
for now, what,
7
year and a
months.
half?
No, we've only been here 7 months.
7
We
months.
opened in July.
I guess it feels like it based on
Feels
how
like
many
it.
I've had.
Okay, all in favor of Commissioner Palmer's resolution? Okay,
Aye.
thank you. I'm sure you'll get something worked out now and all will be well, so it's adopted. I did what has become my monthly trick. I skipped the Lawyers Have a Heart presentation about their annual 10K, which is coming back to life after being away from the pandemic.
Rick, this is your favorite event too.
Yeah, and not that I got anything against it, since I participated in it. The last time was in 2019, but probably 16 or 17 times over the course of 2 decades. So who is on this to speak about the Lawyers Have Heart race?
We have a few people coming through.
Okay. Okay, Julie, we see you. You're muted.
Julie, you'll have to unmute yourself, and there's a few other people that are coming through too. Julie, you're probably good to go.
Okay, I believe Stephanie was going to join as well.
Oh, there she is. Okay, I got her.
Okay, great. We did have MPD on the line, but they had to jump off at 8 o'clock. So we'll take any questions for them after. My name's Julie Hansen. I am representing the American Heart Association and the 32nd annual Lawyers Have Heart 10K and 5K planned for June 11th. Also joining this presentation this evening is Sula Antonio from, she is the Executive Director of American Heart, and our Senior Director, Stephanie Maurer. And as I mentioned, MPD Officer Jaffe is going to follow up with us tomorrow as he had to jump off. As you know, and was mentioned by the chair, we've been having this event in Georgetown for more than 20 years. And it is in its 32nd year, and we're very excited to be back in person on June 11th. These past 2 years have been virtual. Over these years, we've raised more than 17 million, with a goal this year of 1.5 million. And it raises funds and awareness for research and community education throughout DC. And this year we anticipate about 4,000 to 5,000 participants, and we will follow the CDC guidance of local and health and government officials with regard to large gatherings for COVID-19. As we've done in the past, the race itself kicks off at 7:15 and takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours for most people to cross the finish line by 9 a.m. And we'll open the streets definitely by 10 a.m. outside of K and those areas, but M and Whitehurst, et cetera, all open up before 9 a.m. actually. We've had Whitehurst open as early as 8 a.m. The route that's on the screen right now, you'll see we start at on K, just east of Wisconsin Avenue. We take that down and make a U-turn onto Whitehurst up to Canal Road, and then do a U-turn to come back down to the finish at the same location. That's for the 5K. And then the 10K proceeds out from Whitehurst and goes towards Potomac Freeway to East Street Expressway to 18th and Virginia, and comes back around 27th to finish back at K in Wisconsin. As I said, we anticipate finishing between around 10 a.m. with streets reopening, and our footprint itself will remain the same. We set up in Washington Harbor and also on K Street and Water Street. We've adjusted the footprint a little this year because of DC Water's plans. Before the holidays, we met with with Lisa and DC Water to talk about their plans. And it doesn't look like it's going to have a lot of impact for us at this point, but just in case, we've moved a lot of our tents and such onto Washington Harbor and just kept the start line area on K, so that if anything does change at the last minute with DC Water, we'll be able to accommodate those changes. Also, during our meeting with Commissioner Palmer, we reviewed our any neighborhood concerns that we addressed in 2019 and 2020, which was no audio before 7 a.m., the speakers facing south, incorporating a longer access lane along the north curb of K Street, going down towards Water Street and Potomac, so the residents and business have access to their locations. We continue to work with MPD on this. They're going to have officers at each of the intersections and to monitor those access points so people can get in and out as needed. We'll also have traffic control officers located along several blocks along M Street to help with vehicular and pedestrian traffic. And AHA is also going to offer free registrations to the first 100 Georgetown residents who would like to participate in the race. And there'll be details on the website for that, and we'll send that directly to you. So we're really hoping that you will support this important and historic and fun and active event and join us and support the American Heart Association in a wonderful way.
Thank you.
Sure.
You know, I think we've had a number of conversations over the years, and certainly this is a very important cause. And I think all of us in the community are pleased that we can be part of supporting such a worthy cause. But I'd be remiss if I didn't say that this remains one of the most difficult races for our community to manage. I do appreciate all the time you all have spent with me trying to come up with solutions. I'm not sure that everything will be solved, just simply because there are going to be 4,000 people in Washington Harbor at 6:45 in the morning. But certainly I'm expecting that we'll have a better experience as a community this year than we've had in years past, largely because of all of your hard work. So thank you. So I do have a resolution. I don't know if we want to take any questions before I offer one.
But let's see if we have any questions or comments, either from the public or from commissioners before you offer a resolution, Commissioner Palmer. Looks like no questions. I will just comment. This is a big event for the neighborhood and requires a lot of management. And Commissioner Palmer, over her years on the commission, has worked terribly hard at accommodating the Heart Association for this event. And putting up with me because I'm a supporter of the events. So, and in fact, in 2019, it's the only road race I've ever won in my age group, which was, of course, it was the 5K, and it was the Now Until You're Dead age group. So, I just crossed into it.
That's a good one. Congratulations.
Well,
Yeah,
Rick, you can do it again now that
do that again. So.
You can do it again now that there's free registration for Georgetown residents.
Yeah, exactly.
Just be very, very quiet when you register.
Okay, we seem not to have any comments. So do you have a resolution, Commissioner Palmer?
I do, yes. Lawyers have agreed to implement the following practices for the 2022 race. 1, move pre-race check-in off of Water Street and onto Washington Harbor property. We expect that this change will not lead to any discernible increase in noise for residents living in or around this property. 2, increase the number and adjust the height of the speakers in order to lower the sound from each individual speaker and decrease audio vibrations off of the Whitehurst Freeway. 3, all audio speakers will face south towards the Potomac River. 4, turn off music on race morning should complaints be called in to the on-site MPD officer. 5, no audio of any kind before 7 a.m., including sound checks. 6, offer free registration to first 100 Georgetown residents who would like to participate. 7, provide written details of road closures and access points to ANC 2E to disseminate to the local residents in advance of the race. 8, install 7 blocks of water barricade lanes to provide access to and from parking garages and residences on the north curb lane of K and Water Streets from 29th to Potomac Street. 9, MPD will manage the intersections going south from M Street to K and Water Streets to ensure residents and businesses have access to their locations via the north curb lane. 10, traffic control officers will be located at 5 intersections on M Street to include 29th and M, 33rd and M, 34th and M, Wisconsin and M, Key Bridge and M. 11, AHA is following the guidance of the CDC and appropriate state and local health departments regarding closures and procedures for large gatherings related to the coronavirus. Communications will be sent regularly, updating participants and the ANC with updated and precautionary measures in regards to COVID-19. With these alterations to the race in mind and agreed to, ANC 2E agrees to support the granting of permits for 2022. However, should these modifications either not be implemented or should the race continue to be disruptive to ANC 2E05, ANC 2E will not support the race in 2023.
Thank
Do
you.
we have a second? Do we have a second? Anybody? Second, Commissioner Mitchell. Okay, any discussion among the commissioners? Okay. All in favor? All right. Resolution passes. This is a terrific undertaking, a terrific event in terms of its purpose and the good it's done. But we look forward to working with you to make it a success for everybody, community and the Heart Association. Thank you all.
Thank you all. We appreciate your time and support. We'll see you on the race tours.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, next item is Public Space Committee. We've got public space applications by the Georgetown African American Historic Landmark Project. I'm not exactly sure what the application is. Do we have someone here to speak to that application?
Yep, Ms. Crockett's coming through as a panelist, and I have her presentation she sent me loaded.
Okay.
Ms. Crockett, you'll have to unmute yourself and you can turn on your camera if you'd like. And I do have your presentation loaded. I didn't know if you wanted me to share it on the screen or if you wanted to do that yourself.
Well, I think you better.
Okay, I can do that.
I'm not as adept at
Now,
using.
Ms. Crockett,
all
we
of
have
the technology.
heard about this project on a number of occasions.
I hope it's all good.
Well, it's all good, and it's a worthy project, but we have a long agenda and we've got a lot more to come after you. So I would like you to focus not so much on talking about the overall project as in talking about specifically what you need from us tonight.
Okay. Am I pushing the control? Because you can go to the next. This first slide just shows you the markers and the plaque, one of which is already installed because it's on private property. This presentation just gives you an idea of where we propose to put the plaques. And please note number 19 way up in the top left corner, which is Mr. Payne's home. This slide just gives you an idea of the styles that we will be installing. Each photo will be a porcelain tile that will go up in the top left corner. They will be made of bronze. Our logo, which was the gold circle, is affixed to the top. We have gone through our OGB approval for concept, and the other one I can't remember. Installation, and I heard with interest your comments on the sidewalks. We do take caution in our installation. We have planned for 3 different environments, one on grass, one on cement, one on brick. And I don't know if you can see me, but at the base of the post, which is a 3-inch steel post, we do plan to put this base to cover anything. We will be drilling a 3-inch hole, maybe a little larger than 3-inch hole, and to put the post in, and then this decorative footer will go on top of it. Except for one that we will put on the market house, the marketplace, and that will go on the wall. During our research, we found a wonderful wooden carving of that southeast elevation. So we thought we would put it on the wall. This just gives you an idea of what we had planned for the installation in the different environments. And you can read it. I can send you a complete packet of all of the sites because each site is different. So I can send to Peter the entire packet. I just put a few examples of these sites so you can get an idea of how we're going to install. Next slide. This is one example of on the grassy area. This is Duke Ellington. We have gotten permission from all 20 sites, no, 19 sites. One just because of COVID. I haven't followed up with it, but this is one installation, proposed installation. The next slide. This one is at the top of Poplar Alley on 28th Street. And we are proposing to put it, tuck it into the bushes as it's indicated there. This is Palmander Walk. Across the street from Palmander Walk, we gave consideration for ADA compliance with all of the marker placements. This one is just to the west of the steps, about 12 inches from the curve. Here is the market house and the elevation. This is the north elevation. And I think I said the south. I think we changed it. This one was different in that this is the corner of 29th and M, which does have brick. So so that you can see how it will be installed with the base, decorative base, so that it won't distract from or have any loose bricks. Next one. Slide. And this was the last one, across the street from 30th and O. And when you get your presentations, there will be a photo of what will be on the marker. All except for 2 will have photos and concerns that we know you have. Bringing crowds into Georgetown. We did take into consideration and try to see how it would work. Fortunate for us, our first attempt gave us an idea. It just so happened to be Georgetown's international law students, and it was a large group. Too large, we thought. Now, and after hindsight, there was 86 people. We split it up in half, and it still was too large. So we have limited from that point on to 20, no more than 20 people in the groups. National Park Service will be taking over the tours, hopefully in the springtime. So they will be conducting, however, we will be conducting a few. We won't be limited. We will be limiting it to 20 people. The other concern also always is safety, walking through the narrow streets in Georgetown. There are a few streets that are just so narrow. We do advise our guests to walk one at a time, especially up 27th Street. We also advise our guests to be mindful that this is a residential area. With that large crowd, I think somebody came out of their house, and it just so happened that they were happy. But I'm sure there might be some other people that when they wake up on Saturday morning, they wouldn't want to open the door to 20 people standing outside. So we address that by moving the crowd across the street. On the south side, their entrances, the door entrances are closer to the sidewalk, but on the north side, the entrance to the homes were.
Ms. Crockett, could you tell us exactly what you need from us? This is great what you're planning, but we don't need all that detail for what we're
okay.
doing
I
here
didn't
tonight.
know. I didn't know, but what I guess I need approval for the installation.
Well, all we do is advise, so we don't approve anything.
Well, somebody from who was it? The application. When I submitted the application, I guess they told me I had to come.
What agency?
Just to clarify, this is a filed public space application, so this public space committee will be asking for a resolution regarding the application.
Okay, so that's what I need.
Okay.
Because you guys are so nice. or well,
have you been working with anybody in particular on the commission that would have drafted a resolution for you?
No, but I can.
You probably don't want to have to come back another night, so I'll take a whack at it. ANC 2E is impressed with and supportive of the public space application submitted by the Georgetown African American Historic Landmark Project and recommends that the Public Space Committee approve it. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You have your resolution, Ms. Crockett. Thank you very much.
Very much.
Thanks for all your work
Enjoy
on
the
this.
rest
It's
of your
a
day,
wonderful
and
project.
Thank you. And I hope that it brings more activity to your restaurants and more activities And I will make sure that they don't litter, they don't make noise. You can bet it.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Ms. Crockett.
I want you guys to be happy the next time I see you. Thank
We are
you.
happy. What's your
Bye-bye.
timeline, Miss Crockett? What's your timeline for this?
The first one has gone up. We have in production, we have 5 already produced. We have in production 4 more, so that's 9. So we will start as soon as the weather breaks to start installing. I also just wanted to tell you, we'll be coming back.
Well, please do give us an update as
We
you go
will.
along.
Okay,
We'd
and
love to
Norton
hear.
has submitted our bill. We are going to erect a memorial on the mall. So that's another thing. And whoever put up the book, Black Georgetown Remembered, I'm so glad to see that, because we do have a book deal. We're going to go a little bit more in depth with the families. So at least I thank you for the presence of the African American community.
If you would just keep Executive Director Sacco up to speed, that would be great, just as you go.
Always.
Okay.
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 Always.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Ms.
you.
Crockett.
And I'll also send you the complete so you can make sure that we have everything where you want it to be. Okay.
Okay. Thanks very
Bye-bye.
much. Bye-bye. Okay, next we move to our Old Georgetown Board agenda. And the first project we have is in single member District 3, which would be my district, 3401 N Street. Do we have anyone from representing the owners at 3401 N Street and their concept design application?
We have Dale here.
Hello,
Good
Dale.
evening, everybody.
Hi.
Dale, for starters, before you even start into your presentation, could you tell me exactly what you or your clients have done in terms of neighborhood outreach? Have all of the neighbors been contacted, and do they have any objections?
No objections that we know of. So when we submitted it on Thursday to DCRA, we turned around. This is a concept application to the Old Georgetown Board. We hand delivered to the adjacent neighbors and even neighbor across the street, and have not heard anything back. I should say that the owners own not only the building that we're planning to make the alterations additions to, but also they own the building to the north, to the rear of this building as well. So they are sort of their own neighbor in terms of the closest adjacent buildings.
Okay, somebody just asked the question, and it caught my attention as well. Did you just file this past Thursday? That can't be, because this has been on the OGB's list for a while.
Thursday, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, okay. That's
yeah. And then we also, what happens is DCRA then generates a formal notification that we've also mailed out with certified mail. It's just we have to wait for those to arrive. And as soon as we did, we mailed those out certified.
okay. Okay, so everybody's been notified. Okay, well, if you would go ahead with your presentation, and the element of this that I'd like you to focus on, because I would, as you know, there's usually these projects have a lot going on, but not all of the elements are of interest to either the neighbors or the ANC. The element that I'm most interested on is the porch, the upstairs porch.
Okay.
So
they're just we could just bring up the first page there. This is a corner house, corner of N Street and 31st. The Hannons.
Did you want to put your presentation on?
Oh, could Peter help with that?
I will pull it up.
Thanks. Corner house, and the porch will only be visible from 34th Street, not at all from N Street as you go west. There's a little gap between the buildings, but it'll really only have that 34th Street exposure. While we're waiting on that, there are a few windows that we're proposing, but those were actually permitted in 2019 I believe Outerbridge Horsey Architect had submitted and received permission for that, but that has gone dormant. But we'd like to re-up that same design for window replacement. So I don't think that will be a problem. And then we're looking at changing a gate. But maybe if we go to sheet A006, that shows the porch more clearly. So this is the view from 34th Street. The picture on the left is existing. You see how there's sort of a one-story addition on the right, which is the north side of the building. And there's a notch there in the building. So you could see that the two-story porch fits sort of neatly in that area, and it provides a little outdoor area that creates some shelter for the bedrooms on those upper floors. There's a very traditional porch with wooden elements and screen. And then you can see there's a gate between the two structures where there are two gates now, but there's really just one common space between. So it makes sense to have one gate. Maybe the next image, 07. All right, this is it from the other side, and you can see the three lower windows to be replaced. So quite a traditional porch structure. And that's really the gist of it.
Well, let me ask you a question, a loaded question here, Mr. Overmeyer. How does a 2 stories of porch differ from putting a roof deck on a house?
Oh, you mean in terms of occupancy and use?
Yeah.
I don't think it does. I think this is a more civilized version of the same. Provides a little bit more shelter and enclosure, but the idea is that it keeps the rain and sun off, but allows the breeze to go through. But right, understand the concern about use of the building. So there's already, as you can see on the image on the left, there's already a flat roof with a small parapet, not really designed for occupancy, but it certainly can be occupied by stepping out of an adjacent window.
Yeah, but this is of interest and concern. I don't see it as providing like shade for the windows up there because it's on the north side of the house. But in any event, do any of my colleagues have any questions? Hearing none, I'll offer a resolution. ANC 2E is concerned about the proposal to add 2 porches on the north side of the building, which could be used by individuals going outside the building and gathering. We do not, ANC 2E does not believe that porches such as this were historically included in buildings built in this part of the Georgetown Historic District, and asks the Old Georgetown Board to consider carefully whether a porch should be approved at this location. Do we have a second? Second, Commissioner Palmer, all in favor? Aye. Thank you, Mr. Overmeyer.
Thanks.
See what happens on Thursday.
All right, thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Our second OGB case is good old 3000 M Street. Commissioner Palmer.
Hi, yes. We typically, as an ANC, don't bring back projects repeatedly, even when they're going to the OGB multiple times. It's sort of our feeling that the OGB is perfectly capable of rendering sound advice on projects. That said, in this case, the applicant specifically requested to come as they move their project forward and begin to think about the zoning process. So we obliged, and I see we have a couple of people from the applicant that are on the call. If you could hit *9, yeah.
Or raise your hand at the bottom of the screen. There we go.
And to whoever is presenting tonight, if I could just request that you focus on the exterior only, and also in any way that this particular proposal is different and hopefully responsive to the OGB comments the last time. I think that is what we're most interested in.
Let me underscore that. Commissioner Palmer is exactly right. Please limit yourself to the ways that you have changed this proposal in response to OGB comments.
Very good. Paul, do you want to start?
Fantastic. Yes, I will. Thank you. Again, my name is Paul Tummins. I'm with Goulston and Stores. With me here this evening are Michael Winstanley and Lee Jung Hong from Michael Winstanley Associates. As Commissioner Palmer noted, we have, the last time we were here was back in August of 2021. And since that time, we've presented to the OGB on 4 separate occasions. And we're going back again on Thursday for what we believe is the final time. And it is addressing the changes that have been made along the way. One other component of why we're here as well is that since we presented to the ANC in September, on September 29th, we filed our notice of intent to file a PUD and zoning map amendment. So pursuant to the zoning requirements, during the period of filing the notice of intent and then actually filing the actual application, we are required to come and make a presentation, give an update. And that's what we are here to do this evening. So we appreciate your time. Before I have Michael Winstanley talk about the changes that have been made, I just want to note that we have continued to refine and reduce the massing and scale of the project, in particular along M Street. That's what you see this evening. That's in response to the comments we've received from OGB through the 4 times we've been there, as well as the comments we heard from the ANC, from CAG, from the National Park Service, and also Georgetown Heritage.
Paul, let me
we
stop
know that this
just
is
for a second, if I could, because you mentioned having filed a PUD application. Is this intended to be our opportunity to comment on the zoning application?
No, I'm sorry. We filed the notice of intent.
Notice of intent.
And then we're going to file the actual PUD application in mid-February. We've surely envisioned, and in discussions with Commissioner Palmer, we will be back before the ANC as much as you want us to talk about the actual PUD and zoning map amendment application. This is just to give a heads up to the ANC that that application is coming, but then also to give the update of the OGB presentation on Thursday.
Okay, well, let's just focus on the OGB aspects now, because I think we're all going to have to bone
With
up
that,
on
with no further ado,
PUD considerations.
Oh,
before
we'll
say
be back.
that
There'll be plenty of time to talk about that. 100%. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
With that, I will hand it over to Mr. Winstanley.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Michael Winstanley with Winstanley Architects and Planners. And with me is Lee Jung Hong, a principal in our office, and we've been the prime designers for the project. So you remember that we talked a lot about Georgetown being episodic along M Street, and we had a 4-story structure on the corner and what we referred to as a pavilion in the gap in between. And in working with the commissioners, we came up with an alternate solution, which continues to look at the street as being episodic. But now you can see that we have a 3-story structure on the far right-hand side, a 1-story structure in the middle, and then it pops up to 4 stories, but is very thin, is a little less than 30 feet wide. And then we come back down to the corner at 3 stories. And that's been really a major change for us in terms of the front of the structure. Next slide. You can see looking from, thanks, Lee. So this is looking west down M Street at 31st Street. You can see how the individual structures and the massing of the front of the building really begin to kind of find a nice rhythm within all of M Street. And in fact, there is, in our package, there is an identical massing configuration here farther down on M Street that mimics this. But you can see also that we've modified the colors of the brick to give a little bit more contrast between these individual masses, and we believe fits in nicely. As you look down 31st Street, you can see that we've broken the building down into two sections. And we've also stepped the building back on 30th Street, so 31st Street, so that
No, it's 30th Street, Michael.
It is 30th Street. Okay, I'm sorry. I keep getting them mixed up. You can see that now there are really two structures, and there's a gap in between those two structures. Currently, we now have an entrance between the two structures that actually leads down to the restaurant downstairs. And then farther down the street is the entrance to the hotel. Additionally, one of the other things that we were asked to do is that we lowered the penthouse. We took all the mechanical equipment that was on top of the penthouse, and that now actually sits directly on the roof, so that the penthouse itself is only 12 feet high and encloses some occupiable space, but predominantly is a mechanical screening on the rooftop. Next slide. An image of what we hope it'll look like in the evening. Next slide. And you want to give me 30th Street. Keep going. Yep, there you go. Okay, so looking north on 30th Street, now you can see the corner building in red brick. In between the two structures in the gap there, we now have an entrance that leads downstairs into the restaurant. The restaurant is now located on one floor below, looking out towards the park. I think as it was before, we had flipped it around in some of our earlier meetings, so forgive me. You can see that we pushed the loading dock back as well to not have it be out front on the face. The main entrance to the hotel is located right here. The building is now set back along 30th Street, but you can see we also now have another setback at the 5th floor facing south. And then next slide. Actually, stay here for a second, Lee. One of the things you can also note here is that we have removed a great deal of the mass of the existing Latham building that was butted up against the Graham at the lower levels. Lee, if you would point to that area.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, you know, there's less mass on the park than there used to be. And there are more windows for the Graham that opens up looking out onto that area. Next slide, please. So from the back, you can see that we've changed we have the two structures that one in dark brick and one in red brick. We modified the red brick structures to include some more architectural detailing of Georgetown quality with arches on that. We also pulled out the bottom of the building there, so there's another setback at that level. And then you can see at the very bottom, we have the restaurant that does look out into an open area there. And there's a glass railing along that front edge there. So we're not modifying in any way, shape, or form or impeding upon the mule yard itself. Here you can also see how the penthouse has come down dramatically. And it's only 12 feet high. There is some occupiable space up there, but it is less than half of that whole area that's up there. Do we have another slide, Lee? Yeah, we do. We have the sections, I think, the elevation. So here's the elevation, the north elevation along M Street. You can see the front massing that we've done now that is goes up and down to give the whole street some relief. You can see the two structures in the back very carefully and detailing of just a very simple, quiet aesthetic. Next slide. On the side of 30th Street, now you can see that the structures are broken in two, with a gap in between and an entrance in between. There's retail, obviously, on the right-hand side, and then the hotel lobby is the whole front section of that building. And then there are the rooms above. Next slide. And then on the back of the building here, you can see the building is broken down into two, one in red brick and the other in the dark brick. And here you can see the approximation of the height differential between our structure and the Graham. Now, we have one section in here too, is right, Lee?
Mm-hmm.
So here's the section through the 3-story structure on the street. You can see that that 3-story structure along M Street is 36 feet high. The background building in the back is 64 feet high, which is approximately 2 feet higher than the existing Latham structure was, and that's measured to the parapet. You can also see now we have the hotel amenities and the loading dock and how all that gets organized. Next slide. And then the section through the retail, the 1-story retail section, but more importantly, we wanted to show you how the back works in terms of that hotel amenities where the restaurant is. We have a little open area, and we've pulled out, based on a lot of comments that we had with the commission, with the commissioners, we pulled out the lower floors to add a secondary setback at the 3rd floor. And now you can also see that the mechanical area above is the screened area is only 12 feet high. I think that's it, right, Lee?
Paul, did you want to talk about the
Yeah, and
photo?
then the last thing, sure, one of the other issues that we discussed last time too was the operations for this hotel and pickup and drop off areas that would be for guests and visitors. And so here what we're proposing is along 30th Street, a approximately 104-foot pickup and drop off zone, PUDO, and a valet. This would allow for approximately 5 vehicles at any one time. Again, this is the type of issue, the transportation impacts, drop-off loading impacts that would be addressed in detail during the PUD process. And so with that, that concludes our presentation, and we're available to answer any questions that you may have.
Lee, why don't you bring up the renderings again?
Okay, yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
Yeah, and if you could, please take the presentation down so we can see the commissioners.
Paul,
Thank
the
you.
PUDO that you're referring to, is that, it's frankly been so long since we've had a building in that location that it's hard for me to remember precisely, but what was that curb lane? Was that parallel parking before? Do you have any idea?
I think it was back in 2016 when we did the last BZA case that was approved for the hotel on the site. That was also that PUDO zone lane in that same location.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think, yeah.
And can you please remind all of us when the building was demolished? What year? Was that 2000? I know the water damage
19.
was sustained in 2013, but when was it actually taken down?
I think that I want to say
I think it was
2017, 2018, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. And there's no one from Thor on the call tonight, is that right?
There should be.
No, but
okay.
No, okay. I was just sort of curious to hear their thoughts on the plans and, you know.
Is there a question that we can answer for you?
Commissioner Palmer. Yeah, Commissioner Palmer, and following through with your discussion, we wanted just this to be just on the architecture, knowing that we're going to have a lot of dialogue moving forward on the PUD and zoning map
Mhm.
plans.
Okay. Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions on the commission? And again, focusing on the OGB issues here tonight, I think we're going to have a more lengthy discussion when it comes time to review the zoning application, which should be interesting and will encompass things like what's going to be done with that curb lane. I understand from a message that just appeared, there may be some competition for that space. So, okay, no other questions. Is anybody still on? I don't see Elsa or Tara on the list of participants at this point. Is anybody on from the Citizens Association who might want to comment on this iteration of the design? Apparently not. Commissioner Palmer, do you have a resolution to offer?
I do. Yes, thank you. Before I read it, I would like to note that it's been a really long time since that corner has been anything besides a vacant, pretty nasty looking site. It's really disappointing to those of us who live in the neighborhood that it's gone this long, that we haven't been able to jointly figure out a solution. We appreciate that your team has continued to come back with new designs, and I can certainly see the time and care you've taken to address the feedback that you've been given. But I'm not really sure how to best describe how frustrated the community is with the way the site has been left all of these years. Okay, resolution. And I know that CAG also has feedback, but they will share them directly with OGB. ANC 2E is interested to see that the applicant continues to spend time on a concept proposal for the property, even considering its stated interest in selling the property as stated in its blighted property classification appeal, which will be reviewed as part of a February 2nd Real Property Tax Appeals Commission. Nonetheless, ANC 2E remains hopeful that the site will be redeveloped in short order as it is sat vacant since extensive water caused significant damage to the building in 2013, almost 9 years ago. Regarding the specific proposal in front of us today, ANC 2E continues to quite like many of the elements of the plan, particularly the notion of episodic design on the M Street facade. We appreciate the comments that the OGB has shared thus far and continue to ask the OGB to ensure that any new building respects the scale and the design of the buildings on M Street and is likewise appropriate from the south. From a user perspective, ANC 2E continues to note its concern related to use. We look forward to better understanding the built environment for picking up and dropping off guests, noting that the block will likely become more congested as 30th Street is also slated as the location for a new visitor center, which would also require school bus loading zone in a similar location. As we have noted in previous resolutions, we hope that these comments will assist the applicant as it moves its plans forward. Our neighborhood is eager to see a permanent solution for this important space, which has been a desolate and unused construction site for too many years already.
Okay. Do we have a second? Second from Commissioner Lose. Any discussion among the commissioners? Hearing none, I will comment. I can only think of that site as sort of Berlin 1946. And it's been like this for way too long. All in favor of the resolution proposed by Commissioner Palmer?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all. Thank you for taking time to show us your most recent iteration of the design, and good luck and Godspeed.
We're very excited. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is 2811 M Street. And that's in Commissioner Lose's district, I do believe. Is there anyone here representing? This is a permit application for a double door installation at the storefront. Is there anyone here representing the owner?
We have Tom Birch raising his hand, but I don't think he's the person.
No, he's not representing the owner. I take it there is no one here for this application. Having said that, we will take comments from the public who know something about this. So Mr. Birch gets to go first.
Tom, you may have to unmute yourself.
There I go. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. This is an example of wanton destruction of a facade on M Street. The restaurant that was at this property, which was Don Lobos and Enriqueta's before that, is now being proposed again to be a restaurant. The destruction was actually called to my attention by one of the adjacent restaurants. And the comment was, I've been trying to get things, changes to my facade, but, I have to go through a process, and look what happened here. What happened is that paned windows, the true divided lights above a brick border were completely destroyed and taken out. And sort of double French doors were put in, opening onto the sidewalk. The cheapest kind of destruction. I mean, there's not even the kind of finishing you'd want on a project. That with plastic inserts, I think the old Georgetown board requires true divided lights. It's the standard we have on all, whether it's residential or commercial properties in Georgetown. The application is a permit for what's there. And my recommendation to you is to recommend to the old Georgetown board that the applicant be required to replace the structure that was there, rather than to reward this kind of going around the rules, possibly claiming, gee, I didn't know what I had to do. That's no excuse. And it sets a terrible example for other businesses in our commercial district. When someone comes in and completely disregards the process, claiming ignorance, which people ask me, what struck me the most when I was a commissioner, and I have to say I've never been so lied so often to in my life. And I think for someone to say they didn't know what they had to do kind of just doesn't ring true. So please take this seriously. Maybe it would look good with French doors, but again, to reward that, it's going to have to be a completely different set of whatever goes in there. And my suggestion is that we should, honor what was there and require the applicant to put a brick foundation back in with the fully paned windows that were there before. That this is a bay, and the side windows of the bay have been left there. They can see they can see what it's supposed to look like. It's not a mystery. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Birch. Yeah, I didn't realize this was one of those self-help situations that they're trying to get a permit after the fact.
So this is in my SMD, and I fully support what Mr. Birch just described. And I was obviously in contact in December when I saw that construction occur with the applicant, who did claim that they did not know about either the OGB process or the DCRA permit process, which was pretty hard to imagine. I've also spoken with the immediate restaurants next door that, again, as I think Mr. Birchwell explained, we're very surprised to see the work done, given how much effort they have to put into their outsides. So I'd like to propose the following resolution. The proposed construction in this application was completed by the applicant in December 2021. No effort was made by the applicant to apply to the OGB or to DCRA. Thus, the work was done illegally and was reported as such in December. Earlier today, DCRA did finally place a corrective order on the property. ANC does not support this application and urges OGB to review the application carefully, including the materials. The front windows, which match the windows on the sides, were torn out and replaced with French doors that have snap-in plastic dividers. ANC hopes to see a new application that appropriately adheres to historic Georgetown standards and city construction permit processes. A replacement of what existed should be the next step forward.
Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Palmer. All in favor? Thank you. Go get them, Commissioner Lose. This is outrageous. It's not the first time it's happened, but we just can't allow it. Because
between this and the brick sidewalks, you'd think no one needs to do a permit for anything around here.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, don't get me started. Okay, thank you. All right, now next up, 2819 N Street, also in Commissioner Lose's district.
And we should have the applicant on, which is a development company. And I don't know if the immediate neighbors were able to join, but I have been in contact with both of them. Okay. Peter, do you see the applicant on?
Yep, she's coming through, or they're coming through.
Thank you.
And you'll have to unmute yourself. You can turn on your camera if you'd like.
Yes, good evening. This is Gözde Tanyeri presenting 2819 N Street. Peter, would you like to share the screen, or do you want me to?
You can if you'd like. It sometimes is easier just so you can flip the slides how you like them.
Okay.
So there should be a big green share screen button at the bottom of the screen, and a pop-up will come up and you just choose the one that has the presentation.
All right. Okay. Just a second. It's coming up. It's there we go.
We can see it.
You can see it?
Yep, we can.
All right. Fantastic. So the project is 2819. By the way, I'm Gözde Tanyeri, architect for the project, representing the owner. The owner is also on the call. The project is the 2819 street. We'd like to do a couple of upgrades on the front by just removing the roof of the porch that was added after the fact. I don't know, the historic preservation wasn't able to tell me when they added the top cover, but it was clearly added. We want to restore the front facade into its original form, as close to the original form as possible, resembling our next door neighbor. From this, I'm just gonna get quickly past these. I'm sure you know where this is located. Our project consists of adding a rear addition, about 13 foot 11 inches to the back of the property. This is rotated just to fit in the page. Our next door neighbor is up to that point. We want to match the next door neighbor's property. We've been in contact with the neighbors, both sides. The property towards our west is interested in a couple of upgrades. So we had to update our presentation to OGB last minute last week, and we just heard pretty late that we were accepted to present this Thursday. This is a 3D and a little bit of a, indicating how far we're going out and what is the impact on our backyard. This is our existing extent, and the addition would go to our neighbors, aligned with the neighbors on our west side. Some photos of the property. I'm sure if you want to refer these back, I'm happily going to come back just to save some time. These are more photographs and some more interior shots that we have. As I mentioned, the work consists of removing the porch roof to include more of an appropriate street facade resembling to our side neighbor, twin house. One of the things that we'd like to discuss with you is our neighbor's concern next door. When we extend the property, this is our next door property from our neighbor's side. When we extend the property and demolish the deck, we are going to be just extending through that line. And we were originally proposing 2 windows because OGB was exploring a couple of window options. And here you will see on the next page, different window options they asked us to explore, followed by our neighbor's request of eliminating the windows through the bedroom and blocking that view and creating more privacy to their property. The first floor will be behind the fence, so I believe they don't really have a preference if we have a window on this side or not, on the L side. Subject areas are shown here. This bedroom is primarily the addition and existing basement, new addition, expanded towards that side. I'm gonna quickly move through these. For you is the existing first floor up to this line with a patio and a sunken patio and a deck. We are extending to our neighbor along this edge, keeping the L and not removing anything else. These windows are in question by our next door neighbor. We're happy to remove them if OGB seems they're fit to be removed. And a couple other things that our neighbor has expressed to us was the fact that, how much shadow we're casting onto their property. And for that study, they are on our west side. So the sun rises, from the east to the west, and most of the day the sun is on the south and the west. So our shadow is not going to cast to them, but we've rendered 2 extreme cases throughout the year, the summer and the winter solstice. And if you can see from this is just a little study is that by 9 a.m., because the sun is on our east directly, we'll be casting shadow towards their property. The sun will quickly move away to our own property and then move towards the west side to the side, which in this case, we're at the same line and the same height with our next door neighbor. In the December and the winter solstice, most extreme case, that is when we're casting the most shadow in the morning hour. By 12 noon, we've moved away, and the shadow that is cast here is their own, just appears to be on their own shadow. And then in the afternoon hours, they'll be casting shadow towards our property. So this is the extent of what I want to talk about, and hear our neighbor if he's on board. Any questions to the neighbor here? We're happy to address those comments.
Commissioner Lowe's?
Yeah, and the neighbors that are immediately impacted are John Melvin and Nora Cameron. I think they may or may not be on. One of them was traveling, but I have read their comments to the OGB. And a question to the applicant, when you say you've removed the privacy concerns, are you still providing an option in your application to have the windows, or you actually remove them?
So here's the problem with that. OGB, when they're reviewing us, they said add a window here, move the window, gang the windows, that was their sort of focus, to have a window. We prefer not to have a window because it does actually create us inside a more of a bed space. So we're not really.
You've updated the application to remove the windows, because you do have the capability to do that.
Correct. This is our last option, option 4, and I intend to show that on Thursday in our presentation, that this is our neighbor's preferred on.
Okay, so the other options are on. Okay. And Peter, the two neighbors that I mentioned are not on. And again, I've received their comments.
I did a quick look and didn't see them, but if you're here with a comment or question for this project, if you can raise your hand at the bottom of the screen or dial *9 if you're on a phone. That's *9.
Okay.
Well, I appreciate the applicant coming on tonight and that you did
just
share.
sorry, this is Mike Snyder from I'm actually representing the future owner and developer. I had a chance to speak with both the neighbors prior to making these adjustments in the plan. Our preference is to take the window off and not have it on to provide that privacy for John. I have not had a chance to talk to them after dropping off the amended presentation that we're showing you right now. I only had a chance to talk to John in passing because he was on the phone. So I just want to make sure that's on the record. And
So
that
we
the
did
committee
deliver
understands
the
that.
packages of updated removal option per their.
I was able to
and
talk
shadow
with them both in detail initially when we had the initial application before we had made that adjustment for the windows. But I have not had a chance to talk with them in detail after making that change.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Snyder. Commissioner Los, do you have a resolution?
I do. ANC 2E fully supports the concerns submitted to the OGB by the immediate neighbors regarding this application. The proposed addition, including new windows that overlook the neighbors' lawns and house, will negatively affect both the light and privacy of one of the immediate neighbors. Additionally, concerns regarding shared walls, foundations, and the large size of the garage door need to be carefully considered. The ANC asked the Old Georgetown Board to work with this applicant to reduce the size of the addition, fully remove any privacy issues, and address issues with the garage door.
Okay, do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Palmer. All in favor? There you have it. Thank you very much, Ms. Tanieri.
Thank you.
Mr. Snyder, and
thank you.
Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Next item on the OGB agenda is 3024 Q Street. That's back on, correct, Commissioner Lowe's?
It is. They decided to come back on even though the neighbors weren't notified till about 2 days ago.
Okay. Well, here we go. Do we have someone representing the owner? No.
I believe Christian Zavatka's on. Christian, are you on? We're all familiar.
If you're here for this project, if you could raise your hand at the bottom of the screen. I'm not seeing Christian or I think Alan on.
Okay.
I know there was a lot of emails going back and forth.
Okay.
Today.
Yeah, Peter, unfortunately you were CC'd on them. So my apologies. I did check in with the applicant because there's been a lot of construction at this house and it's beautiful, and the residents are well known to their neighbors, that they had checked in with the neighbors and shared the plans. Unfortunately, that wasn't done till Friday, and it is a proposed covered porch. And I think it's important that the neighbors have the opportunity to look at the plans. So I'm going to propose the following resolution. Neighborhood notification is a well-established part of the Georgetown renovation process. ANC 2E is disappointed that the applicant or their architect did not share the proposed plans with the immediate neighbors until 3 days ago when pressed to do so. The neighbors have communicated that they have not yet had a chance to review the plans that was given to them. Given the close proximity of the proposed closed porch and its potential impact on natural light flow, especially the neighbors to the west side of the applicant, ANC does not support this application at this time. ANC 2E looks forward to reviewing the application after proper neighborhood notification occurs.
Okay, could I suggest a slight amendment? Since we've already done that earlier, could we add a line that says ANC 2E is concerned about newly constructed porches?
Yes.
In the neighborhood? If you would just add that as a clause in your resolution. Do we have a second?
Absolutely.
Do we have a second? Yes, second from Commissioner Mitchell. All in favor? All right, thank you very much, Commissioner Lose.
I want to say I was actually part of that project. I received the neighbor notification and it was just a simple letter that came in the mail. And I just, I want to say loud and clear, I think a few projects tonight, the architects need to know this isn't a check the box. This is an engagement and that there needs to be more than I just sent a letter. So with that, I'll call my project up, which is 3100R. I think David's on. The architect. This project is a property that was purchased by Harvard Dumbarton Oaks, and I thought it would be of interest to the community to kind of hear what the plans are.
Okay, Rick, so you were a little right earlier.
Yeah, no, but I had it on the wrong side of the street nonetheless.
David, you'll have to unmute yourself. You can turn on your camera if you'd like.
Great. Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
We can.
Great. Thank you for the introduction. Elizabeth, I am David Coxon, the architect with Cunningham Quill Architects, working with Dumbarton Oaks on 3100 R Street. 3100 R, I can bring up my screen. If you...
You should be able to press the green share screen button and there'll be a pop-up that comes up and you can just choose the presentation.
Sure. Great. Okay, can you see?
We can see it.
Great. So 3100 R Street is a corner property at the corner of 31 R Street. It's 3 levels, 3 full floors above grade, with a partially below grade basement and a partially habitable 4th floor attic. The client is Dumbarton Oaks, and it's a house to be used as a guest house. It's a by right project under the definition of a single family house, residential house. The work consists of preservation, repair, and improvements to the exterior and interior, and alterations. So I thought I would just start with a brief introduction to the project and our timeline so far. We have started with visual surveys and investigations of the house. The house was previously owned by an owner who had done some renovations to the projects and also had unfortunately had some deferred maintenance and disrepair to some of the property, as well as some assemblies and materials that have reached the end of their install life, and previous renovations that had altered the original house in some less than optimal ways. So we are really going to be looking at a few different alterations to the exterior, starting with just the context, which you guys, I'm sure, are all well aware of. It is a partially detached home on the west side. This is the elevation from the alley that you see off of R Street. This is some existing conditions to the house, including a metal gate and brick piers along R Street, a vehicular gate, a pedestrian gate along R Street, a privacy garden wall, a rear terrace, a side yard terrace, and looking at the main entrance at the corner of 31st and R Street, the side entrance here along R Street, and have some interior photographs for reference. A lot of the house was renovated and not much of the interior original structure was maintained. Unfortunately, it was really wall-to-wall carpeting and a lot of renovations. We want to bring this house back to beauty, and it's a prominent corner, so I have a lot of interest and a lot of excitement to bring this building up to Georgetown standards. And looking at the site plan, this is the existing site plan. We're focused on this main stoop on the corner of 31st and R, the site fencing, the low metal gate here, metal fencing here, and the landscaping, the vehicular gate, pedestrian gate, the garden wall, the side entry condition, and the terrace, as well as some fenestration work on the west elevation, which is trying to get it back to what was originally the pattern. So we'll look at that. I have plans for reference, but I wanted to kind of jump ahead to the proposed site plan, starting with the main stoop here at the corner. So as currently installed, this main stoop just kind of dives into this corner. It's very disengaged from R Street and 31st Street. And a house of this size, we would like to turn this stoop so that it engages R Street and becomes a more formal entry into the house. Currently, there are two entries. We want to make this the prominent entry and re-engage this corner. That's the first item we would like to alter. The second is to take out the fencing here, which is unoriginal, and the brick piers, and replant this with a hedge. We're working with landscape architects. Take out the vehicular gates and piers here and have a much more beautiful engagement and entry with new brick hardscaping at the drive aisle. And then propose here a garden wall with a solid wood gate here, secure gate, and allow this stair to be concealed, which is the stair down to the lower level, the partially below grade basement, and have a new terrace condition here with a ramp, an accessible ramp that gets up into a new side entry here to the first floor on the west elevation of the house. So that is the site plan. And then what I wanted to do is look at it from, well, I'll start with just kind of the general upgrades to the exterior as well. Many of these windows are original and unique, single pane, curved glass. Some of them are fixed, some of them are single hung. We want to maintain all of the street facing windows and repair in place if we can. There's some components, especially the operable components, which need to go off-site to be repaired. But the intention is to keep all of the windows on the street facing facade, single pane and existing, with just the needed repair. So we've started to explore that more. There are many of the windows currently have storm windows, which were done more recently in the construction of the house. We want to replace those with a more millwork quality storm window to get that energy efficiency into the house. So that is for the windows. The slate roof has already been replaced in larger sections. We want to continue that. This is slate that's exhibiting a lot of issues, cracked slate, missing slate, issues with the assembly. There's obviously no waterproofing under this, so or building paper. So there's some leaks that are exhibited up at the roof level and the fourth floor level, which we want to take care of. So there's some repair there. The brick is generally performing really well. So there's just a couple of cracks which we're going to repair, but in general, that is the limit to the exterior work to the facade. In elevation here, the these are the areas, again, just to go over, we want to affect here, which is the stoop, this low fence and this vehicular gate along our street into a stoop and front stair that is more formally placed along the corner there of R to give it a more of a frontal reading that's orthogonal to our street. Take out that low metal fence, put in a low brick curb with hedging, and then on the back here, put in a garden wall, which we have better elevations to show coming up. This is the east elevation to show that same level of work, existing and proposed. On the south elevation, we have a shared party wall with 1698 31st Street. We spoke to Daniel and Jeff about the project. Our owners, the Dumbarton Oaks team, have also met with them in the past and spoken about the project. We share the party wall, but we also share a site wall in the back, which we would like to raise up to a single higher height to give more privacy to both Jeff and Daniel, but also to give more privacy to the occupants of 3100 R Street. So we're looking at that height and going to study the conditions more of that brick. We don't want to demolish the whole thing. We want to come back and hopefully just continue the brick pattern and the stacking of what's currently existing. So that is the limit to the work along the south exterior.
Is there much more to the exterior that you have? Otherwise, I feel pretty confident like we've gotten the drill here.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, the only other thing was just the window pattern on the west was just to clean up the facade. This is the non-street facing facade.
Are you adding windows there?
We are not adding, we are increasing the height of one. This is, the previous owner had bricked this in so she could have a tall shower window. We were going to increase that to basically what it was, the existing, the previously existing masonry opening to the full depth, and then taking out a window here, and increasing the window size here. So you have 4 windows that stack along this elevation.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, David. This is a really exciting project. I think you have good ideas here. I think maybe Daniel and Jeff are on. I don't know if they have anything to say or they just wanted to listen in, but Peter, if you see Daniel Chow or Jeff Berkowitz raising their hand to say anything, please do promote them.
I do see Daniel on, and Daniel, I'm going to allow you to speak. You may have to unmute yourself.
Great. Thank you all very much. Thanks, commissioners, for being here. It's like almost 9:50, so I appreciate you guys taking this time, 3 hours plus, darn. Anyways, thank you, David, for your presentation. And we appreciate having met with them virtually last Friday, and they pretty much went through the same thing, and they answered a lot of questions that we had. And we look forward to meeting them on site to kind of go over any shared wall questions that we have. And then also, of course, they will keep us posted on what they find out in terms of needing to dig under in the basement level of that property.
Correct.
Good, that sounds great. Thank you, David. I do hope you'll work with I'm in the middle of a gigantic project next to me, and it's really helpful when there's a lot of communication. And so I know that's not necessarily your bailiwick as the architect, but if you guys can continue the collaboration, I think that'll be really, really helpful.
Sure.
So, yeah, great. So thank you for presenting. I knew people would be interested in this. Everything that Dumbarton Oaks does is of interest to our community because it's done well and beautifully and enhances kind of part of why we love living here. So I think having a guest house there and improving the property will be a huge benefit, and I'm really thankful to you. I have a very short resolution. I don't even have a resolution. ANC 2E has no comment on this project.
All right, well, we'll take that as a resolution because it's a report. Do we have a second? Second from Commissioner Palmer. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Very good. Thank you, David.
Thank you all so much.
Good luck,
Appreciate
David.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Okay, and that is the end of our agenda. Is there anything else any commissioner wants to bring up before we call it a night? Okay, I will accept a motion to adjourn. So move, Commissioner Miller. Second, Commissioner Los, all in favor? Good night, all. Thank you. Good work.
So much, Commissioner Murphy.
Thanks.
Great. Good. I know that's hard to do these meetings. I don't think we thank you enough. So thank you.
Well, you're very kind, but it's hard to do these meetings when you have something going on like it's going on
Yeah.